You'll all remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Thank you. Okay, brings up some welcome and upcoming events. We have, I think the next Hits After 6 comes up, actually right after our next council meeting, October the 12th. I hope everybody went last Thursday. I heard it was a big meeting. Everybody had a good time. So, and I know lots of people who went. So, hope you enjoyed it. Also, I've got a couple announcements to make. One announcement is on Friday the 13th. Paul Belk and myself are doing a fundraiser at the VFW for Alan Tarzinski. Alan passed away a couple of weeks ago. He was a VFW guy, been a veteran for 28 years and a very popular person in our town. And Paul wanted to do a barbecue fundraiser. So it's going to be $10 a plate for barbecue, chips, beans, coleslaw, bun. And this will be Friday the 13th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the VFW. So if you all can make it, that'd be fantastic. It'd be for a great cause. Alan was a extremely great human being and touched a lot of lives in this town, a lot of young men's lives in this town also. So very good cause. I'd also like to talk about a gentleman, is Joe Abbott. Did I say that right? Hayden Abbott or about? That's pretty good. And most people know him as Joe. Joe is Mia Familia Restaurant, and I think a lot of people in here, I see you nod your head about Mia Familia Restaurant. It's a great Italian restaurant over off of Seacrest Shortcut Road, and Joe's owned that restaurant now for a little over 11 years. He's a 17-year resident of Indian Trail, and he's lived in the United States for 46 years. His wife has always called him, his wife Sandra, the most patriotic non-American for many, many years. Well, Joe's an American now, and he's very proud of the fact that he has taken his citizenship, and I'm tickled to death for him. He's one of the greatest guys you'd ever want to meet, and I know Hayden, you know him well. He's done a lot of great things for our town, done a lot of charities, and a lot of things that Joe does is from the heart, and a lot of people know him, and he's got great pizza and Italian food. So with that being said, Joe, congratulations. This town loves you, and you've done a lot for us, and thank you for all you've done. So I hope you're watching this tonight, and we appreciate you, my friend. Very proud of Joe tonight. That brings us to addition and deletions. I think we have at least one deletion. You want me to go ahead and tell you what the deletion is? The deletion is the new business. Pet Bar, Cassandra and Julius Patterson are ill tonight, so they can't make it. And then we also have a recommended, can somebody add what we need to put on the agenda? Do you see what it is, or does anybody want to add that?
I can. I'll make a motion to add NCDOT Town Chestnut Connector Betterment Agreement to the agenda as new business item 10C.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Crystal, for doing that. That brings us to...
Mr. Mayor, we need to formally delete item 4A. So I'll make a motion to delete item 4A from the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good deal. Thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Marcus. That brings us to a motion to approve the agenda. Do I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. That brings us to the Director of Union County Emergency Management, Andrew Arnsley. Come on up, Andrew. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Manager McLaurin. Thank you for having me tonight. I am Andrew Ansley. I'm the Emergency Management Director for Union County. Tonight, I have before you a request to adopt by resolution the 2023 revision to the Union County Emergency Operations Plan. A little bit about this plan. It was first recorded in 1976 and was referred to back then as the Civil Preparedness Plan. So this plan is designed to mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from all hazard incidents within Union County. The plan encourages coordination, cooperation, and utilization of agencies within the county. The scope of the plan addresses those human-caused, natural, and technological hazards, and it applies to county government departments and supporting agencies that aid during times of disaster. It includes the policies, strategies, and concept of operations used in the control of emergencies. And Union County provides primary direction over all the unincorporated areas within the county. During emergencies, each municipality is responsible for conducting and managing emergencies within its borders. The plan does not supersede any municipal plans, policies, or guidance that's in place. The Union County Emergency Operations Center serves as the coordinator of resources, assistance, and information between jurisdictions and other agencies. The operational practice and the revision that took place in this plan, we put together a stakeholder group, which includes a couple municipalities that have personnel responsible for emergency management, and that was Monroe and Waxhaw. We added updates to the plan to include hazard annexes that we've never had before. Those include cybersecurity, mass power outages after the Moore County incident that occurred a year or so ago, radiological emergency preparedness, and railroad emergencies, as we've seen in Wingate recently. We revised others based on current practices and guidance by FEMA and the State of North Carolina Emergency Management. Other areas we updated included updating the organizational structure of the county, formatting various changes, and revising the layout based on changes from FEMA. This plan is reviewed annually within my office and every other year by North Carolina Emergency Management. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Andrew? Andrew, I want to thank you for what you do.
Appreciate
You're there when we need you, my friend. I've seen you sit behind that desk during hurricanes and that type thing. So thank you for protecting us and
Thank you.
all you do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on to that, could we get a motion to approve the resolution by Union County?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay, it's in the consent. Okay, I didn't know. You had me lost there for a second. I apologize. Mr. Wanovich, come on up. Presentation of budget book.
Hi. Good to be before you tonight. Everyone has their budget book before them. So I wanted to jot down a couple of notes. I'll be brief. I know we got a long night ahead of us. So basically, approximately 16 months ago, Mike came in to me and said, Jim, we want to go from a paper-based book to a electric copy. He said, so we accepted the challenge. Mike never asks anything that's unreasonable. So we accepted the challenge. And with the new book, it's going to be very good for transparency, Tom, accountability, historical data. So we hired a company called ClearGov. It's a national company to assist us as our vendor. The book before you, the departments, everyone participated. Everyone was fantastic. They gave us a lot of data and information. It's our first year, and I'm convinced that every year this book is going to get better. All departments participated. Now, at this point, I want to thank Alicia Massey, the Assistant Finance Director, was my project manager. And she gratefully accepted and there was a lot of work, and ably assisted by Alicia Gaddy, the senior accountant. So we have quite a team. But Alicia, thank you for all your efforts. It was a big job. Our goal was simply to make the readers knowledgeable, make it user-friendly, and I think we accomplished that. As Mike often says, the budget basically is a set of priorities that you want to make sure you're able to fund. So basically, when you review that, you'll see that the important priorities have all been funded. I can guarantee you that. The intro section is interesting. It has the dates. We actually started December of '22. The budget was adopted on June 13th, but then we spent another 90 days putting this together. Next year, that'll be a lot quicker, because our first year, we had a lot of boilerplate we had to add. The departmental sections are great. You'll see they have a lot of data in there, goals, accomplishments, each department. You're going to find that very interesting. The capital project section, we have 7 ongoing projects, 6 of which are tied to transportation, and also the ARPA's in that section. Adam will be talking about that later. As you review the debt section, we're in a very good position there, 0.2% of our assessed valuation. North Carolina recommends 8%, so we're way under that. AAA rating from Moody's, AAA rating from S&P, AA1 from Moody's, 1 step down, and we're going to get there. Fund balance is in there. Because of previous decisions that you guys have made and women have made, we have resources which will set us up great for the future. Winding down, there's an appendix in the back that'll help everyone with some of the words we use in that budget book. And then Abby, in a few days, Abby's going to give the link. The electric copy will be able to be given to everyone to review. The budget's there, hit a button. You'll have everything there. Mike, you want to add anything?
First of all, thank the council for allowing us to contract with ClearGov to do this. This is a national company. This is an excellent document. We are constantly trying to give you the information behind the numbers. This is our first year, so we've got a little bit of historic data, but as we move forward, you'll be able to get a whole lot more trend data. This is not the type book you want to sit down and look through in 10 minutes. It's more like a coffee table book where you can sit there and look at it and study it. And also, to increase the transparency, we're going to make this book available online in the next few days, and I understand it's interactive. As you go through it, take a look at it. If you got any questions, you want to come sit down with staff, we would love to sit down and talk through any of the information that you see here that you might have questions. And again, thank you for that. Thank you, staff, for making this possible.
Mike, thank you. No questions? Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to public comments. Acknowledge public comment rules by addressing council. You acknowledge you've read the town's public comment rules and will abide by them. First on the list tonight is Heather Klaus.
Good evening. Good evening, all. Excuse my attire. I hit the gym today, so that's a good start. First, I want to introduce myself. I'm also running as town council of Indian Trail. And I kind of want to leave off where I left off at the last meeting when I was unfortunately beeped. Quick 3 minutes. I do want to address again the Todd Barber censure, make sure I say it correctly. And I would really, really love to put this behind us and start, if we need to implement some new policies, new procedures, speak with other, everybody as a whole. Unfortunately, politics can bring some flair and some disrespect in our community, and I am asking, as a candidate and also a community leader, that we start moving Indian Trail into a better direction, and that is working with people, working with our fellow candidates, people who are running. We really, really need to put Indian Trail in a better stance, and doing that, we are in the public's eye and everyone is watching. So I just want to say that, Todd, I want to publicly apologize myself. I have had no major issues with you. I've never had a hostile situation, and I truly believe that these staff and that have not either. So I want to make that very clear and put that out, that we really, really need to work together. Unfortunately, again, situations flare up because this is an election for November, and I think people need to be mindful that we are all people, we're all human, and we need to get back to treating everyone that way. So I just want to set that and let everybody know I'm here. I'm always open if anybody needs to come and speak with me. I have a public business that unfortunately is being scrutinized and a lot of lies, and I don't agree with it. And again, whether you're a town council person now or you're running for that, you need to have that integrity. When we sign the BOE at Board of Election, everyone needs to run with integrity. And whether that's you guys sitting up there, myself, if you cannot, as my mom always says, you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So thank you for your time.
Dan Schellenkamp.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Dan Schellenkamp, candidate for Mayor of Indian Trail. Just ask the voters to be sure and get out and vote on November 7th. I'll be a little tougher on the censure action that we saw at the last meeting. I think it was largely politically motivated. I believe that one of the council members who's running for re-election should not have taken a vote in it because they were essentially voting against a competitor in the same race. And I could say more about that, but I won't. The other thing is of a campaign nature. Mayor Cohn, you've got on your website, I checked it this evening, and I see on your handouts, and I'll read it carefully so I don't misquote it, but it says, I'm just bringing this to your attention. One of the things on your campaign website, our tax rate has remained at 18.5 cents per $100 of assessed home value during my time as mayor and during my council terms. Unfortunately, that's not accurate. The minutes from the June 12th, 2012 meeting, there was a 4-cent tax increase. It amounted to a 27% tax increase. And according to the minutes, Mayor Cohn, you voted for that when you were on council. So please take a look at that. And if you find that to be accurate, which I have the minutes of the meeting, then I'd simply ask that you correct your statements on your website as well as your printed material. Thank you.
Excuse me, next is Michael Falconberry.
Good evening. I want to remind everyone of the political candidate forum this Saturday, September 30th, 2 to 5 p.m., Shirley Howe Room downstairs. All candidates are welcome. All of you have a voice, and we hope each of you will submit questions along with the public is welcome as well, and do the same. As my wife said in the last council meeting, we'll provide bottled water. If you to provide the snacks, that's up to you. In regards to item number 9A, if you put campaign signs along the road 12 months out of the year, I guarantee DOT will mow that grass. I'm talking from experience. They have demolished more signs than I've ever seen as a candidate in all 4 elections I participated in. Also, the ethics, code of ethics, yes, it needs to be addressed. Also, a social media policy needs to be implemented. I'm going to give you an example. We had a former council member, while in council, created a fake Facebook page. He used the name John Williams. He had Facebook friends on it, everything. Oh, look authentic. He at first had posted he lived in Kansas City, Missouri. Then he moved to Ontario, Canada. Then it was Bath, Maine. Then Indian Trail. The reason I found out who it was, he kept misspelling the same 4-letter word. He misspelled the word foul. Instead of F-O-U-L, he spelled it F-O-W-L in whatever context. Then when he shared a post from the Indian Trail Hornet's Nest to that page, it showed his true location of where he lived. It wasn't Indian Trail that he had moved to. I won't reveal the name of the city because people know who it is. But again, we do need policies that will reflect this day and age. Times have changed. Also, in regards to campaign signs, placement dates, it needs to coincide with the state date. Make it simple. You have to have a PhD to figure out which day, what road you can put the signs on. Make it simple for everyone. less confusing. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Somali, or Somal, sorry.
Hi, my name is Susan Simili. I am also running for town council, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm a 19-year resident. On September 16th, on a Saturday, this event was held here at Town Hall. It was, so you can see it, it was for underage children, basically. And the way that they found out where it was is they had to RSVP. And then the location was disclosed. At the event, which was finally I don't think it was ever disclosed, but we did find out it was held at Town Hall. They were asked to bring their IDs, and they had to show their IDs. Now, they weren't with their parents, they were with adults. Churches, schools, daycares, all require background checks when adults are with children who are not their own. Were they given background checks, is my first question. My next question is, what does it cost to rent the entire town hall and the parking spots in the front of town hall? Because they were all blocked off. They had the entire town hall. I would like to know what that cost. And finally, there was an invitation sent by the Union County Republican Party, and I'd like to invite all the town council and staff to join if they'd like to. It's on human trafficking. It's October 7th. It's at the Siler Presbyterian Church. And the little intro says, human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery involving illegal use and transport of individuals by force or deception for the purpose of sexual exploitation, labor, or activities in which trafficker benefits financially. Human trafficking is a global problem affecting people of all ages. It's estimated that there are 25 million victims of human trafficking globally, and between 20 to 50,000 are trafficked in the United States, which is one of the largest destinations of victims of the sex trafficking trade. Sadly, Charlotte area ranks high on the list, and so do the areas around us, which Indian Trail is very close. I think probably Mr. Barber and Ambergy and I think Gay, you're registered Republicans, so you might have gotten this, right? And so one of the speakers I just wanted to let you know is Eric Trzynski, U.S. Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security. So there's some really prominent speakers there, and I would invite you all to go. Thank you.
Clarence Also Brooks.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Clarence Edward Also Brooks Jr. I live on Fincher Road. I'm here to speak tonight about a need in the community. Cameron's House of Hope is looking for male mentors. If you're not familiar with Cameron's House of Hope, it's for children that are dealing with parents that are incarcerated or dealing with drug abuse. You know, it's easy to judge these kids perhaps, or the families, but we should step up and do what we can to help these people in need. You can go to their website. I'm not a spokesperson for Cameron's House of Hope, but you can go to their website and fill out a volunteer form. I've done so already myself. Again, they're looking for male volunteers. And again, I started a program with Cameron's House of Hope for kids so money's collected so the kids can actually have lunch money so they can get ice cream and then they can have snack because some kids can feel left behind if everybody else is getting a snack and they're not getting a snack. So I encourage everyone to look into Cameron's House of Hope. And if you're a male and they're looking for volunteers, if you can fill a need, please do. Community work is important. I am a candidate for town council also, and I'm out in the community, but you know, we all should pull together to help those in need. You know, I want to thank Councilwoman Buholic for everything she does in the community. I know you work with Adopt a Cop, Cindy's House of Hope, Hope's Chest, and Bright Blessings. Mr. Gay, you're president of Lions Club, who has helped me when I was a single father, so I greatly appreciate that. Mayor Cone, I've seen you out picking up litter, seen you at the school bash, what is that, Union County School Bash? Perhaps I got it wrong, forgive me. But I've seen you out there. But nevertheless, this is just my call to say, please help the community. There are people in need, and again, there's no reason to judge people. You don't know what they went through. And everybody doesn't have the biggest house. Everyone doesn't drive the fanciest car. And we should do everything we can to help. Thank you very much.
That brings us to council feedback. Anybody got any council feedback? Mr. Gay?
I just want to address the censor. We showed evidence. Believe me, it was a fraction of what's been done over the past few months, but it was warranted. Everybody had the opportunity to see the evidence, and it's a shame what has been done to the folks in this town and the stress and concern that it created when it was a study, and we have not voted on anything. So it was warranted, and we do need rules of ethics. This council needs to conduct itself in a more professional manner, and we need to come up with policies that will prevent this from happening again. And it's a shame somebody has to be censored, but it needed to be done. Thank you.
Anybody else? I just have one thing to say, Mr. Shelton. You are correct. It's been 11-plus years since the town has raised taxes, not 12. And if it says 12 on there, then it's my mistake that it's got 12. You said 12, since 12 years. So it's been 11 years, I think 11-plus years. Yes.
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah, after I get
Go
done.
ahead.
Okay, I didn't know you had your hand raised.
Oh, I was, yeah.
But,
Mr. Officer Brooks, are you still in Rotary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Since you were here, you didn't mention, I just want to tell everybody the Rotary fundraiser drawdown is October 14th, and you can call any Rotary member and get tickets, correct? Y'all still got tickets?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just want to let everybody know that. It's on October 14th, correct, at the Union County Ag Building? Okay, down in Monroe. All right, thank you.
That's okay. No, I just wanted to say it's been 11-plus years since a tax increase. Since that tax increase in 2012, it's 2023 now. So it's been over 11 years. No, I know. I'm just throwing that out there. And I think we also had a bond referendum for the parks at that same time that people voted yes on. So which they chose to take money and build parks. But anyway, my mistake. If it's been 11-plus years and not 12, it shouldn't be on mine, and I apologize if it's on there. So moving right along. Law enforcement. Captain Hunky.
I just want to say, Mayor and Council, no news is good news again. We've had a pretty busy couple of weeks, but nothing too exciting, and that's the way we like it in our profession. I would say, Mr. Mayor, you talked about Joe. He's actually kind of a neighbor of mine, and it never fails. When I'm out cutting the grass, he's got to come by and wave. And he stopped the other day and was grinning like a mule eating briars. And he was just pointing up at his little American flag in his vehicle, and he's pointing at it, and I was like, what are you pointing at? I don't understand. He goes, I made it. I'm an American citizen now. I didn't know he wasn't, but he was very, very happy. And like I said, when you mentioned that, I couldn't help but grin a little bit myself. But like I said, no news is good news, so we'll hopefully keep that going. Do you guys have any questions for me? Good, I don't have to make anything up.
Yeah, Barbara,
Yes, sir.
you got a question?
The rabies clinic is this Saturday, the 30th, from Animal.
I've had my shot, sir.
Yeah. Well, I have too. But,
Okay.
But do you know where it is?
No, sir.
You can go to the site.
Is it Monroe?
Do you know where it is? Okay, I know it's this Saturday, but anyway.
You're good at this stuff.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, guys.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, that brings us to Public hearing. By addressing council, you acknowledge you have read the town's public comment rules and will abide by them. This is for Downtown Master Plan ZT 2023-0098, UDO Amendments ZM 2023-0098, Downtown Rezoning. Ms. Dees.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Planning staff would like to formally present to you the 2023 Downtown Master Plan and associated amendments, the ZT 2023-0098, which is your UDO amendments, and the ZM 2023-0098 downtown, actually rezoning those properties as the plan calls for. So this is the public hearing. I also have with me tonight in the back Senior Planner and Project Manager Tim Jones, and Senior Planner and GIS Guru Tyler Hyaski. And I've invited them to chime in at any time if I'm missing anything or I need to add anything. But then I'd also like to invite you guys to stop me along the way. If you have questions, feel free to interrupt me. So some of this is going to look a little familiar because I'm kind of going on the premise that once you hear something 7 times, you start to believe it. We're almost there. But we've presented this several times, and so some of this will be the same. Let's talk just a little bit about how did we get here. So you may remember the 2041 Comprehensive Plan was approved in July of 2022. This was a town-wide plan that lowered density in all areas except for Highway 74, Old Monroe, and downtown. The public input during the comprehensive plan revealed our residents wanted a downtown. A few of the comments included, make downtown a destination, make downtown beautiful and somewhere to enjoy going to. I would like to see downtown restaurants and shopping. What also was revealed in this survey is that we do have leakage. So only 24% of those in the survey said that they shop or dine locally. The rest choose to go elsewhere. So creating a downtown was also listed as Town Council's number 2 priority. And with this in mind, staff was directed and given funding in June of 2022. The draft plan was delivered June the 26th of this year. We presented to Planning Board in July. We presented again August the 15th to Planning Board where they approved this plan. And then we've been before Town Council twice as well, August the 8th and then tonight for the formal public hearing. So let's just compare the plans quickly as we did before. Both plans are similar. The first plan was small-scale poster format. This is expanded report style. The 06 plan is a little bit more dense when you look at the graphics. It has more hardscape and more of the open space is clustered on the edges rather than within the developments. Both display existing buildings. Both have minimum setbacks. Mixed use is desired. Again, we're looking for that pedestrian-oriented development, bringing the buildings up to the street, parking in the rear. 3 stories, and we were looking at 40 feet with the 06 plan. We're looking at 50 feet now. That's actually taken a step back from where we are today. So we're at 75 feet in the UDO. This proposal would reduce that down to 50 feet. And then, of course, we're not a very old town, so we don't have the grid pattern. And so we're looking at other ways to promote interconnected streets, such as all the trees that were removed from here, the Chestnut Connector, ways to get around town other than just Indian Trail Road. So here again is the graphics. Both plans have density. That's what it takes to get a downtown plan, but you do see more green space all within this newer plan. So the area for the 2023 plan, when you look at the rezonings and the UDO text amendments that go with this, it's only 2.89% of the entire 23 square miles of Indian Trail. So very small percentage. But we do want to respect and honor the past, those important aspects of downtown, but also move the town forward and have a plan for the future. But really, it's not up to this council or even the planning staff to decide. It ultimately lies with the property owner. When they decide they want to sell, that's when that property could be redeveloped. Until then, we just want to have the foundation in place for when that time does come. I do want to reiterate, we've talked about this before, this is a 20-year plan. This will not happen overnight. This plan will not force anyone to sell. It will not force private development. We don't have that power unless we buy all the land up ourselves and develop it. So it will be slow over time, especially with our sewer capacity issues. So let's talk about a little bit of the public outreach. We started our public input process in December of 2022. We got some really good, valuable feedback from property owners in downtown, and we made adjustments to the plan starting then and all along the way up until today. But you can see up on the screen the multiple notifications. We went above and beyond state law on notifications to make sure that everyone felt included and welcome to give us their concerns and their comments. And then you'll see that also each of the board meetings had time for public comment as well. All right, so a little bit about our response to public comment and the things that we changed. So, of course, you remember we added the residential district to avoid the impact on taxes. So the moment we got the draft, we saw the two districts. We found out that they were going to be classified as commercial. Their taxes would double or maybe even triple. We immediately went to work on a solution. That's where you get the DTD residential. So it's a downtown transitional district, but it's for the residential, the existing residential. So out of 140 properties, we were able to eliminate that issue for 130. Not perfect, but pretty good as far as eliminating the impacts. The existing land uses, we're not trying to kick anybody out of downtown. If you have a business, if you have single family, a church, regardless of what you have, you are grandfathered in and you're permitted to stay there for as long as you want to. So those uses are grandfathered and permitted. We did remove some of the light industrial properties. Spangler over here, you can see now that the Chestnut Connectors trees have been removed. That building was included in the original boundaries and they requested to be removed. So there was several properties removed. We started with 624 acres and we're down to 530. So in a lot of ways, we have really reduced this plan down. We've made it better in a lot of ways than the 06 plan, not as dramatic. We've stepped the height down, we've reduced the acreage. So there's a lot of things going on that's an improvement from the 06 plan. The young professionals word was removed. We got public comment that word bothered some folks, so we removed that to just say professionals. There was a lot of conversations in planning board, the first planning board meeting, about traffic and roads and infrastructure. And so again, I just want to reiterate that Indian Trail, Complete Street, and Chestnut Connector are funded and underway. So those will be complete before this plan starts to really build out and develop. And then the current scoping, there was some feedback that they wanted parcel level detail, and that's just not what the scoping for this project was. We could go back to the consultants, pay them more money and get that for sure, but that was not the direction we were given. All right, so let's talk about the zoning text amendments, the UDO amendments. So you have the plan, and like a lot of plans, it could sit on the shelf and look pretty and do nothing for you. The difference between the 06 plan and this plan is that this one is being activated in the sense that it's rezoning properties, it's making some changes in the UDO that hopefully will give it a little bit of life and usefulness rather than us just paying, $90K for it to sit on the shelf. So part of that is there's new districts that are created. That's that downtown core and the downtown transitional. And then it provides definitions and regulations for those new districts. It eliminates the old downtown overlay and the central business district, what we refer to as CBD. And then we also addressed a consistent theme with new signage. A little bit about the zoning map amendment for the rezoning. That should say 530 acres. We did reduce that down. So it rezones 530 acres. 2 of the parcels included in this acreage were zoned central business district and they were outside of the boundaries. It was something that happened a long time ago, so we want to clean that up with this request as well. And then the proposed districts just create consistency. In downtown, we have every imaginable zoning district that you could have, from light industrial to single family, MBD, CBD, GBD. So it really just creates more of a consistency in the zoning downtown to 3 districts: the core, the transitional, and then the transitional residential district. So yes, sir.
The questions now or after?
Questions
Whichever you
will go down-
prefer.
well, I got it. Questions are at the end.
Okay, sorry.
So the one thing that I want to ask, with some of the feedback that we've given, we've addressed pretty much everything that we could in this plan all along the way. We took a few photos of undeveloped land, older developed land in downtown, and really the question for you tonight is, with some of the feedback we've heard, maybe we just want to stay with status quo. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to throw that out there, that this is what status quo is, and if that's what you want to look at for 15 or 20 more years, that's fine. That's council's decision. I just wanted to let you know that is an option. And so again, here's all the options before you. We could dump it in the trash. We could approve it. We could also add modifications to it when you approve it. Council does have that authority. You can deny it or you can postpone it. And this is the requested action before you. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. If you do want to take action tonight, we have a whole bunch of fun consistency statements for you that we can read as well.
Very good. Do you want to take questions before or after we do the public comments?
I don't have a preference. I'll be glad to take
Why
them
don't we
now.
do public comments first, and then that way we can answer some of those questions at the same time. So
Sounds good.
let's.
Thank
I'd like to open this portion to public comments. Can I get a motion? I can't hear you, Crystal.
If we open the public hearing for them to come up and talk, if we decide to postpone it, we won't be closing. Will council
No,
still
we
be
can
able to
still,
do
we can postpone it.
it? Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
without having to renotice it, because we talked about
No,
that
you
last
still-
time.
You still can postpone.
Okay, so motion to open this portion for public hearing.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. That brings us, Mr. Conley. Is it Kinley? I'm
Kinley.
sorry. I say Conley, Kinley. Apologize.
I answered either one. Most of my friends call me TK, and it's a whole lot easier for everybody. Hi, Brandy. We could go through a whole lot of history with a whole lot of what's proposed, what has been proposed before, times thing and everything. But we don't have that kind of time tonight, so I won't go there. I've written it down, tried to be concise and get it done with, because you gentlemen and ladies are probably in for a treat tonight after I get done. And I wrote it down so that I'd try to keep it organized in space and in time. I believe the original intent for the downtown study was good, but it got sidetracked or hijacked somewhere along the way. It could have been the consultant was not really familiar with our type and size town, misinterpreted what the planning department asked for, or someone in the planning department led them astray. Anyway, here we are with a proposal that is extreme in scope and direction. Besides the extremity of the study results, it is a straight rezoning of property that was not requested by landowners, yet if approved, gives the planning department complete control over this area without having to come back to the mayor and council for input and approval of projects. Basically, if you approve this plan, you have abdicated your responsibility of oversight that you were elected to maintain. What also looks like an arbitrary decision on property zones is kind of mind-boggling and needs further consideration. Permitted businesses, residency, really needs to be home to a better scale for a community like Indian Trail and not be a copy of Charlotte. Yet here we are in a quandary that has created a hot-button issue with highly upset landowners, stressed-out staff, created fodder for candidate campaigns. Side note, by the way, people, there's a lot of information out there if you go digging through it. Do your due diligence and study the candidates, because some of them really have a history. Won't go any further. There's no sewer available to sustain what is on board now, let alone this massive change with apartments and townhouses, being the number one allowable projects. This rezoning would then put a tax burden on property owners that they may never see a benefit from due to sewer capacities. There's a lack of what I call community pluses that I believe would bring people downtown for reasons other than just to sleep in the anticipated apartments and townhouses. Let's think also about the schools in this process as to what drastic burden could be placed on them and by default on our county tax bills. I've heard the term, we need rooftops to have additional business and services to come here. I'm well aware of what that term is, but it does not need to be the extreme scale provided here. Please understand what I say here is not about disparaging the planning department, because I do know how hard their job is and appreciate the stuff they have to put up with and the hours that they do put in. I truly believe there is a compromise to the situation. I believe the council should vote no for this rezoning, and then using this research data, along with a committee composed of cross-section of landowners, business owners, planning representatives, and planning board representatives, but no council members dedicated to arrive at a desired district or district's description that would better serve our town and try to preserve as much quality of life that we can.
Yeah, the buzzer went off. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Thank you.
That's fine.
Thank you for your input.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Heather Klaus.
I'm going to jump right in because 3 minutes goes really fast. Okay. First, I would like to thank a lot of our community for being here today. It is huge, especially for this. I truly believe whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, this plan needs to be dissected. It's a lot of information, regardless, even for planning, town council, community. The one specific thing is, this was supposed to be a public hearing, and now we're addressing as possibly a requested action. So let's put that on the table, that we said we'd wait as long as we possibly can to make sure that we listen to our community. As someone that has been here and has been listening, I have heard a tremendous amount of feedback from our community, not only on a commercial standpoint, a residential standpoint, and several other community members on a standpoint with letting you guys know this is not what we want. So the only thing I would love to be able to put on the table is, if there is a majority that we're speaking on, I would like name, phone numbers, and everyone who has contacted and called into the planning board, or as a town, on what community members have said, we want this and we want this exactly the way it is. I honestly, truly believe that this plan can really be worked in, whether you want to say town, council, planning board, developers, whatever it is. There's a better plan that can be put in place, and a reasonable plan to be put in place, and working together to listen to everyone. I have reviewed it, researched it, looked at it. There's a few things I want to put in there and make a statement. It's not only just the beautification of the town, the shopping, this. I have heard numerous amounts from that comprehensive survey that was done that I guess they're using that to use now for this, that specifically says, don't overdevelop. Let's look at having a small downtown feel. That's not what this plan's going to present to us. Let's, you know what? Let's look at, there was just a lot of, it's listed, guys. Go look at that comprehensive plan. Look at all the feedback from people that did that survey. And just read it, look at it. I work really, really well with staff members, but we can agree to disagree, and someone is not listening. And I'm saying this loudly. The community has spoken, and you're not listening to this zoning. It needs to be looked at, and they really, really need to be heard. And there's a lot of community members in here tonight at the last public meeting, the planning board meeting, all the meetings, and they're saying, please listen. There's a lot of restrictions that are going to put on businesses and residential and the people in that downtown. I think that there is a better way. Thank you.
Pat O'Connor?
First off, I want to apologize. I think I signed the wrong list.
I think you.
I was talking about the other ones, but it still was concerning that. I went to the planning meeting, and they were talking about some properties that back up to the Sunnyside Circle that are on Independence about being rezoned for commercial. And the reason I brought it up is because one of the concerns was that the road was not contingent for commercial traffic. Well, I live on Allen Way Road, and my road is not contingent for commercial traffic. I have, and I showed the captain and all that, I have 18-wheelers parking and blocking whole lanes on both sides of my road because I can't get them to put up signs saying no parking either side. And the road is in horrible condition from Independence to June Drive. The other issue, June Drive is a private road, from what they told me. And ever since they built IHOP and all them, the water runs now onto June Drive, and Mr. Horn, who lives on, he drives through potholes and mud things because the contractor never did fix that road. And I noticed they were bringing about, maybe the town can take over that and just pave, that first part up to his thing. But that was my, proposal is that it's not a cosmetic problem, it's safety. I had showed him, the captain, a picture where there was a semi parked on one side and other traffic on the other side, and people coming off Independence couldn't even turn on our road. And I was also explaining to the fire department, how would you get down the road to do it? And then trucks, 18-wheelers come up from Walmart, come all the way up Allen Way Road and go through this guy's front yard just to get out to Independence when they could just, I know you can't say no commercial vehicles because, FedEx and them, they make deliveries. But there should be a way to keep these 18-wheelers, big, huge trucks from making that 90-degree turn on, and, I don't know what they can do, how they could do that. But that was my main concern. And that would go along with what the city wants. I mean, you need to live in safe neighborhoods, and be able to enjoy what you have. But that's what I had to say. And I appreciate everybody showing up, and I encouraged even Mr. Horn. I said, you need to come. They can't see every road in the city. And if somebody asked me if we had a homeowners association, and I said no, just me. I'm self-elected. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Schellenkamp.
Thank you. At both planning board meetings, there were 3 separate 3-minute sign-up sheets, one for each of the actions. Tonight, there's only one. There should be 3. I've got 12 minutes that I want to talk, and I've got 3 minutes to talk about this plan. And I have to take a few minutes to correct you, Mr. Cohn. Your website implies that there's been no tax increase since you've been in elected office. That implies that you have not voted for a tax increase. You voted for a tax increase.
Mr. Mayor, I want to call a point of order, sir, please, if you don't mind.
We're not.
Point of order.
We've
We'd like to
already
stick
talked
to
about that,
the
and I've already
public hearing.
answered your question, Mr. Schellenkamp. I've already said that I said it was 11 years is when I last did it. So let's move on and let's talk about this right here.
Mr. Kinley understands and the public needs to understand, if you approve this plan as it exists, apartments can be built by right without having to be approved by the elected officials. That's in 2 of the 3 new districts, approximately 500 acres where you'll be able to build apartments without going through the approval process of our elected officials. That is wrong. I do not support the plan in its current form. 50 feet is better than 100 feet max building height. It is still too tall when you talk about Indian Trail Road, which is the 2-lane road, and you're talking 15-foot setbacks from the curb. 50-foot tall buildings, 15 feet off of the curb is too tall for 15 feet off the curb. There is a false narrative that we must densify the downtown. We all want nice sit-down restaurants. I think that was the main feedback we heard from our citizens. Somehow, this plan has been twisted around. We do not have to densify downtown in order to attract nice sit-down restaurants. We're talking out of 2 sides of our mouths. If 75% of citizens are willing to get in their car and drive to Matthews or Monroe to eat at a nice restaurant, do you think they would not drive to downtown Indian Trail to eat at a nice restaurant? The only thing that would prevent them is if there is inadequate parking to do so. The fact that apartments can be built by right, but churches cannot, in one of the 3 districts is just wrong. I tried to take a look, how many residential units are in the current planning zone? We have the Elon Apartments, 350 units, the Grove Townhomes, 92 townhomes when they're completely built out. Ardmore, 252 units, and then there are 351 townhomes planned at the town center in front. If we look at what's here on the ground today, by my estimate, there's almost 700 units in the planning area. This is not including the single-family residential. This is the multifamily apartments and townhomes. That is already densified. Those are the customers who will come to these restaurants, if we can attract restaurants to the downtown. When we build the new road, that will attract restaurants to the downtown. When we enhance Indian Trail Road. How many units are already approved but not yet built within the plan area? I include the one just past the library. There's 351 townhome units. It's just outside the plan, but it's right on the border of the plan. That is more residential that is in this downtown area already. Do not approve this plan as it stands currently. Thank you.
Michael Falkenberry.
Good evening again. As many of you know, I've been involved in Detroit politics for over 12 years. In that time, I've always suggested get Chestnut Parkway up and running first. Build that up. It's a blank canvas before you concentrate on the Indian Trail Road. Wife wanted to go to see the chairman of the board concert last Thursday, and it was a drama-filled evening. Went down one road, traffic was backed up. Went down the Indian Trail Road, had to make a U-turn, ended up going through Stallings. The same problem is going to happen if you develop downtown the way it is now. You have a 2-lane road, as has been stated. You might be able to get some turn lanes in there, but it's still not going to help. My father always said you put 10 pounds of something in a 5-pound bag, that's what you're going to have. It's not going to fit. It will not fit. Talking from experience again, get Chestnut Parkway up and running first, then postpone this plan, trash it, or whatever you got to do. And as people have said, it's not going to fit in this area. It will not fit. You're going to have more traffic, no places to park, as has been stated, and all you're going to get is people, their blood pressure boiling, because it's not going to be convenient for anyone. If anything, you're going to avoid the area, because it's going to be a pain to get to enjoy. It's not about restaurants, it's just being social. It's about having a downtown for thriving for everything. And if current businesses are having issues, they should be allowed to modify their properties. Thank you. Their properties without being punished. They should have that right, especially the properties right here. I know some of them are looking rough because of the age. But they should be allowed to modify them without being punished. Again, I urge you, can this or either postpone it until Chestnut Parkway is up and running to see what you're up against. Thank you.
Leslie Hoyt. I hope I said that right. Is it Leslie? Hoylt? There you are.
Hi, my name is Leslie Hazlett, and I live at 310 Indian Trail Road. And I've just heard so many rumors, and I just came tonight to hear anything but rumors. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Well, that concludes our public comments. That is oh, you're there, Brandy. I thought maybe you'd left. That brings us to council deliberation. Well, let me close. Can I get a motion to close the public?
No. No. we're
No,
not
wait a
closed.
minute. You're right. I'm not going to close. We need to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
What now?
I'm going to make a motion to basically postpone or continue the public comments till, what's our next meeting date? The October 10th? All right. So,
Shouldn't we have council comments back?
Yeah, we can, but we have to do something with.
let me keep the public comment period open, if you don't mind. I'll make a motion.
Yeah, we should. That was my
Yeah,
mistake.
we did promise that at the last meeting, yeah.
My mistake.
So, so Mayor, here's my motion. I'll make a motion that we continue the public comments to our next meeting on October 10th, 2023. Is that an accurate motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
I would like to respond to what some of these folks have said.
Yeah.
We'll have a chance to respond.
You will.
Yeah, to talk.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're just going to.
So look, just for the entire council again, I'm making a motion to continue the public comments at our
Right. So,
October 10th, 2023 meeting.
yeah, and we're doing that for a good reason. We're doing it because if we close the public comments, then we have to send out notices and everything again, all out. This way, we're just going to continue it.
But then the public does get a chance to continue
Right,
talking.
and they know tonight, we're going to
Right.
do it on the 10th. So, okay, with that motion on the table, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, now we can deliberate, but go ahead.
I have one quick question. So really the issue on why we wanted the public hearing recessed is the ad is a couple $1,000s. That's mandated by the state. We don't think that that's the most effective way to reach people. So if you want us to notice folks again by mailed letter, we'll be glad to do that. We were just trying to avoid having to put that ad in again.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brandy. Brandy, you might want us, because now, which should bring us to the council deliberation for questions. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Brandy,
I'm sorry.
could you clarify what RBD stands for?
Regional Business District. That's the purple zoning district that flanks 74.
Okay, thank you, hon. And then parcel IDs 07129396 and 937, or 397. It's mentioned a lot in the zoning maps. It's mentioned every zoning map in here. It says two parcels, parcel IDs 07129396 and 07129397. I just wonder where they are, where they're located.
So those are the two properties that are,
Or,
no, they are currently outside of the downtown overlay, and somehow, years and years ago, they were zoned central business district. So we're just clarifying that error.
okay.
Yeah, so there'll still be commercial properties. We're just, they really weren't ever supposed to be CBD because they weren't in the overlay.
Okay.
And they're along Old Monroe Road
Oh, thank you.
in
And
the 4,000 block.
And then the bill by right takes any discretion away from council, is that right? if we approve this plan?
So if you look at building by right, the only way they're able to do that is if they can meet every single letter of the law, going through site plan, TIAs, all the requirements. So sometimes those will get kicked back to you in the form of a CZ because they may be wanting to have some concessions. So if they do build by right, they'd have to meet all of the requirements of the UDO.
They'd have all their i's dotted and their t's crossed, and then they wouldn't have to come to us.
Correct. If they
If
they
do
met
everything
all
correctly,
if they
right.
met all the requirements of the UDO.
Okay, I'm learning. Thank you.
Mr. Gay?
I think, what the nail on the head is in this whole issue, and is that Leslie brought up, this is the whole issue here, gossip. And there's been so much gossip that's gone around this town intentionally, and it's been political, and it's not coming from most of the people on this council. But I'm appalled at the amount of time and energy that has gone in. I listen and I read, and the stuff that's gone around this town has been totally unproductive for people understanding what this is all about. And Leslie, I feel for you, and I'm glad you came tonight. So, you're here, you're not political, and you want the truth to be told, and you want this worked out for the town in the best direction that we can do it. So if we can get all the politics out of this and have 2 or 3 more meetings and work out what type of high density or low density is going to be, how tall the buildings are. When I have somebody come in here and say, oh, it's going to be a canyon and Indian Trail, that's ridiculous. This has been done by an outside consultant. They had their ideas, they brought it to us, and it's up to us to custom make this whole thing. But the gossip and the lies and everything that's been spread across this town is ridiculous and needs to stop.
Marcus?
All right, thank you, sir. Brandy, first of all, you and your team, thank you very much. You guys did not think of this on your own. This is a directive from council, so I'm happy that you guys have followed the directive that this council has approved. I've been paying attention to a lot of this, right? And I'm very happy that residents were brave enough to come up tonight and speak. And when people are speaking, I like to give them the opportunity to speak because we all sit here and we represent people in the town. So thank you very much for everybody who spoke tonight. When I look at the plan, there's density in both plans. This plan is actually less dense, has a lot more greenery, as you mentioned, concentrated in this plan compared to the other one. There's actually one candidate who's running for the election who was part of that plan. So it's good to have that kind of historical view. This is also a 20-year plan. So and I'm going to ask you a couple questions, so please follow me here for a second. So from the last plan, I think it was adopted in 2006 or somewhere.
2006.
2006. What major development has happened in town from that plan that exists right now?
So Councilmember McIntyre, that's a great question. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, so
The town center was approved in '05. The plan was approved in '06.
So we've had that plan for 20 years and nothing new has come up.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Is the town, if the town council were to adopt this, would any resident or any landowner, property owner, be forced to sell their property?
No, and that was one of the reasons that we created that third district, because we didn't want to create that impact and force those residential properties out because of a tax increase.
And that leads me to a second question. Sorry, Mayor, I have quite a few, so if you don't mind, please bear with me. Can the county, or do you think, and I know when I ask a question which is about the county and asking you to think, you don't know what they're doing, but from your experience, let's put it that way, from your experience, do you, here I'm going to use the word think again, but I'll use it. Do you think, or have you seen cases where this district that you created, which is the residential district you added to avoid the tax increase from the town, do you think that the county will keep, if the county were to say no new taxes, they would not increase any taxes on these homeowners, I would say, in that area?
Correct. That's a great question. So we created that district based on a conversation with the county, making sure that we were going to protect those residents. That's the 140 properties. We reduced it down to 10 that are going to be impacted in the core. So 130 of those are saved from tax impacts via that third district.
All right.
Now, I can't save anyone from the 2025 revaluation, but
Right. And you mentioned you talked about a number which is, you gave a number 2.89%. Can you sort of explain, and the reason I'm asking this question is not just for me, right? It's for the general public to make sure people understand some of these things, just to have correct information. But can you expand on that 2.89% number, just so that way we get a really good understanding of that?
sure. So, and I may ask my GIS guru that came up with that number to come up, but it's 2.9% of the entire town's jurisdiction that would be allowed more density.
So if we say 100 minus 2.9, we're at what?
I do want to make one clarification.
Yep.
The 2.9 that Brandy's talking about is strictly for the core and the transitional district.
Right.
That wasn't counting the transitional residential. If you include all three zoning districts as a whole, that's at technically 3.6%.
Okay.
For the proposed plan. The current downtown overlay as it exists today is currently at 4.24.
All right.
So we're actually decreasing from roughly 624 acres down to 530 acres.
530.
And so certain areas that are heavy industrial and light industrial on the north portion of town that don't make sense to be in a downtown overlay were removed, and then other areas that have increased density were added into it.
All right.
In terms of a percentage, though, of the entire town, it's 3.6 for the core, the transitional, and then the transitional residential.
All right.
But the residential would have to be rezoned.
Yes, the residential would have to be rezoned to that, so.
All right. Mayor, I think that's the only questions that I have at this time. So I may have a couple more, but I want to give the other members a chance to sort of.
Some questions?
Well, thank you for asking. Appreciate that. Yes, I have a few questions. Kind of going with what Mr. Kenley said. Does any property owner have any option to opt out of any of being rezoned?
That's up to council. That's up to town council. That's your decision.
So I mean, if we approve the plan as a whole, then they wouldn't have the option as an individual or a single property owner?
If you approve the plan as is and the UDO amendments and the rezoning, no. But again, this board has the authority to make modifications before they approve it.
Thank you. In the 500 acres, do we have water and sewer lines that are capable of handling the growth currently?
We don't have water and sewer lines capable of handling the growth in any part of our town right now.
Okay, so I mean, so there's going to be a cost of water and sewer if we can get approval, correct? I mean, someone's going to pay for that. What's the median cost of implementing this plan?
The median cost of implementing it, it's all done by private development, so there's not a cost to the town other than
Because
the.
the plan had in there originally, it was 10 million, was
Yeah,
estimated.
all of that would be private investment, though. It's not money the town would pay.
The parking's reduced by 25%, correct?
The current UDO allows parking to be reduced by 25%.
So this would reduce it by 25%.
It's already that way. It's
So it's already that
already
way.
existing.
So the plan shows parking decks, so the parking decks would be the future of handling the parking in downtown?
That's correct.
Okay. And who pays for the parking deck?
Could be a combination. It could be private, it could be public, it could be public-private.
Okay. The 2006 plan, you look like it, when you showed up here, it was the height of 40 feet,
Correct.
and we're increasing this with the plan to 50 feet.
No, sir, we're reducing the height from 75 that the UDO currently allows to 50.
Well, Well, you were comparing the plans, so I was comparing the two plans.
Correct. I just want to make sure you know what's on the books
So the other
today.
plan was never implemented, correct?
So the other plan was just a pretty plan that you paid for that sat on the shelf. Your UDO is what's actually being lived out.
So we were comparing the plans, so this plan actually goes higher than the previous one, because you were talking about density of the 2006 versus this one. What's the percentage of increased density between the plans?
So the original 06 plan was like a pamphlet style. It didn't give any level of detail for us to be able to determine the percentage.
So it's just kind of a subjective comment then, okay.
Well, looking at the
Yeah.
graphic, you can see it for yourself.
Because I just wondered, you're talking density, but in the two plans, one might be less dense, but one's taller. So, okay, so I just clarify that, because I got a feeling why the plan was never implemented was because it's dense and.
So the
you're
plan
talking-
didn't have any real life to it, and that's the difference between these two. It didn't rezone any of the properties that are single-family or light industrial. It didn't make any changes to the UDO.
Thank you, that's all the questions I got.
You're welcome.
Crystal?
Yeah, I just have a few comments. First, I want to thank y'all for coming up and presenting this. I heard someone say that we don't want a downtown here because we want to be a small town feel. I've been through several towns that are local to us that I still get that small town feel and have a central area. I'm not saying that this is 100% where we want to be at. However, I do think that you can come to a medium where you do have a downtown area and still continue to have that small town feel. I myself moved here because I like the small town feel. So I don't think anyone on council wants to eliminate that feel. Another comment that came out was saying that we don't have to have more density, we could just build more businesses. And I am against high density as much as everyone else is. I know we don't need it right now. I want to create our roads first before we do anything, which is wonderful, 20 years. Our roads better be done by 20 years. However, I will tell you, I've also spoke with representatives from other towns that have created successful downtowns, Waxhaw, for instance. And they said you do have to have some density to attract the businesses to the downtown area. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. If you don't have one, you're not going to get the other. So I do want people to understand, just because we're trying to build a downtown doesn't mean we're trying to bring people, we're not trying to build apartments everywhere. But you do have to have a balance in that core area in order to attract the business that you want to build. That's pretty much all.
Yes, Mr. Gay.
I think a key thing that was said here just a little bit ago was if this plan is adopted as is, this plan is not as it was. This plan is changing, is continuing to change, and this council can make the allowances for anything that this may damage, any person, any property this may damage. But this stuff of telling people that you're not going to be able to do this, you're going to lose your property, you're not going to have this and have that, that's gossip. And this is a continually changing plan here, and all this what if, it needs to be sorted out, and each individual person that has issues, let's make accommodations, because we have the power to take this plan that was put in here, we can change this plan any way we want to do it. So take this stuff about if it's implemented as is, just take that and throw it out the window, because we're making changes. And we'll address what needs to be done so nobody in this town gets hurt.
Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, sir. Randy, I heard something about water and sewer. If I'm not mistaken, I think I worked with the county to try and get us, went from a 6-inch water line to a 12-inch water line.
Correct.
Mr. McLaurin, has that project been completed, sir?
Todd Hunsinger.
Has that project been completed, sir?
Phase one of that project has been completed up to the railroad tracks, but they have not gone under the railroad tracks to tie into the downtown intersection in Unionville and Indian Trail Road. That is phase two, so not quite yet.
All right, but the thing is, the town has funded money to get that project done. And the reason we did that project was because, one, we wanted to also create a downtown, but to give the residents in that area access to the water. From a sewer perspective, the county is going to have to handle that. Randy, I have a question for you. The current UDO says that building height is maximum 75 feet?
That's correct.
All right. So the current, I guess you want to say downtown plan, nothing's really come from that, as you mentioned earlier. But then this plan that's being presented is actually reducing that 75. So in other words, if we do not adopt this plan, council votes and says no, the height of the building still remains at 75.
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Crystal?
Okay, I have two more quick questions, I'm sorry. So I know you said 130 of the 140 we were able to work. What about the other 10? Have you had any, input from them?
So there's only one property owner that's reached out. We had a really good conversation. I believe you guys may have received an email from that same individual. Some of the properties, some of the 10 we own as a town. And then there's a couple that are for sale. So we have not heard from them, but I'm imagining they're appreciating that commercial upgrade. So with the gentleman who reached out via email today, we've had a couple of conversations with him. And the one thing that we offered folks in his situation is if you have a vacant piece of land adjacent to a residential dwelling, if you combine that all into one parcel, then it could fall into the residential district. Now, there's some cost with surveying. They own quite a bit of land in downtown. That was really the only concession that we could make without just kind of throwing the different zoning districts out the window, because they weren't in a spot where we could just clip them off the edge like we did with Spangler. So it really made it impossible other than to give them that option to recombine, and then they could be considered into the DTDR district.
And then my second question, someone had mentioned that, of course, we can build by right apartments.
Correct.
What is the difference in what is in place right now? And of course, I'm asking this for others to hear too,
Sure.
versus what's going into place. Is there areas right now that could be built by right? Or changing the UDO is the reason why that's?
So there are not areas that could build by right now. To be completely transparent with you, I think in Indian Trail and a lot of areas in Union County, it's hard to get the political will for a mixed-use, dense project to be approved. None of you really want that on your record when you go to campaign, right? So there hasn't been the political will in 17 years. I don't see there being the political will in the next decade. If you're going to build a downtown, if you make it by right in 2.89% of your jurisdiction, then that can help build that downtown.
Thank you.
Brandy, in the plan it says intense density. There's 43,000, say, residents in Indian Trail. I'm a firm believer in if you build it, they will come. Businesses come. I work for a restaurant right now where it's in a closed Kmart shopping center, but you operate it well, they come. So I don't get why everyone's saying you have to have some density to accommodate these businesses. I just don't understand that. I mean, that's just my opinion. I just don't believe that's I don't think that's necessary personally.
So the restaurant that you're referring to, those metrics and the way they come in are very different than an actual downtown. You're not just looking at a restaurant on 74. You really want the shopping, the dining, all the experiences that you're looking for in creating a downtown, the pedestrian oriented. You're going to have a little density with that. If you don't like the word.
We just got so much around us in density. 43,000 residents that will come downtown once it's nice. I don't agree. That's my opinion.
We've had quite a big population, and it hasn't spurred any development in 17 years.
Right. I don't think we had anybody push it, and that's when I ran. I said I wanted to go for a downtown, and that's what I wanted. And I supported going for this plan. But this high-density stuff is, I don't understand it. We don't have the infrastructure, our roads, our schools, so we're hurting.
And again, if you don't like some of the wording in the plan, this is your plan to adopt. It's not staff's plan.
That's right.
Thank you.
Todd?
Councilman McIntyre brought up the water line from Gribble Road, and goes over here, it's not finished, correct? Now, if I remember, we went on third on that. The county paid $500,000, the developer paid $500,000, and the town paid $500,000. So if we've had to pony up to get an additional water line just in that small little section, how can we feel comfortable that developers and private funding are going to pay for the future water lines, like you said?
I mean, that's a part of the cost of development. I think,
So basically, we could be looking at a lot of costs to expand the water and sewer lines. I mean, as a town, I mean, we did it here. So, I mean, just that little line was $500,000 to the taxpayers. So I just wonder where all this private money's coming from. And this plan has all kinds of stuff of getting grants from federal and state and all that. How many of those grants have we gotten so far for this?
we don't have a plan to even apply for
Right,
those
that's what I mean,
grants.
it's all, well, it's all if.
You can't be,
That also
you
means-
typically aren't eligible for grants if you don't have a fairly updated
I'm
plan.
just saying is, it's all looks good, and we got to apply, but there's no guarantee we get it. But thank you. That's all I got.
Mr. Gay?
Well, I got a question. I know Mr. Barber had voted on 1,000 multifamily and apartments from Lowe's to Sun Valley. That's going to be, right, like I said, 1,000 units. Who's paying for that water and sewer?
The developers. So
The
generally, development pays for
That's right.
itself.
So if they're going to come in here and build it, they're going to pay for the infrastructure. The town doesn't do it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just simple. If and that's, to me, that was way too much density to get voted in there. You imagine Wesley Chapel Road, Stouts Road with that kind of volume going across it. But, I mean, it happens right here at these tables here. We vote in high density. We're the ones who do it. If we don't want it, then we don't vote for it. So let's keep all this straight.
Any other questions? I have one or two, just a couple, and you may have already answered it. Tax-wise, Brandy, with the two plans, how do the taxes affect the landowners from one plan, from the 2006 plan to the 2023 plan?
Sure. So again, the 06 plan was really just sitting on the shelf looking pretty. This plan brings it to life a little bit more with the rezonings, and that's where we looked at the tax impacts. We were able to eliminate tax impacts except for 10 parcels. The rest are going either from a commercial district to another commercial district, so essentially just changing names and some uses. And then the other ones will transition from, if it's SF1, they'll go to the DTD residential district.
So I guess my next question to you was, if you just left it at the 2006 level, does that keep taxes for landowners in the town, in the core district, does it keep them from paying more taxes? Does that make sense?
Correct, but currently the 2023 plan only impacts a few property owners. It's 10 parcels, we own several of those, a couple of those are for sale, and then Mr. Kinley that you heard from via email.
Is there any way to help those people, because there is such few, if they're going to be the ones that pay more of the tax burden, is there a way that we can help those people, make it more beneficial, or make them agree more to want to maybe to do something? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at it, we looked at giving them every option, that's where we.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but because I don't blame them for not wanting their taxes to go, because when you reevaluate, then their taxes are going to go up. So even though it's a few.
Right. And I think if you're looking at selling, it's a good thing. If you want to stay, then, why do you want to pay more taxes? And that's certainly the reason for Ashland that we went into that subdivision and immediately decided, all right, we've got to create a third district. So the problem with their parcels is they're kind of scattered and they're not on the edges at all. So it's not like we can clip them out. The best solution we were able to come up with them was for them to combine it with the existing residential structures. All the parcels had that option. Now there is, some surveying costs that they would have to incur, but that would permit them to fall into the residential district.
Okay, one other question. I know we're talking about more density, less density. The 2006 plan actually has more density than the 2023.
Just looking at the images, yes. Now, we can't break that down to a percentage because that plan was just very high-level pamphlet style.
As far as when we say more density, we mean more buildings, I think, more structures. Is that
Closer
not,
together, right.
More structures. How about, is it also more apartments, more condos, what creates that more density? Which plan has more residential in it? High density residential?
The 06 plan is so basic, it really didn't get to the level of detail for us to really make that determination.
Right, okay, all right. Well, and you brought up a no sewer, which is not going to be very helpful for all this discussion and all this money spent and all that we've done. There's not going to be a lot done, unfortunately. That's unfortunate because, let's face it, we saw what downtown Indian Trail looks like today. And I think everybody in this room would like to see a little something different than that. I would hope so. I'm not saying it's not the greatest. Let's just put it that way. And I love this town, and I think it's a beautiful. We live in a beautiful area. So I think what we did here tonight was a good thing, and I think we ought to continue to do it. And we need to talk about this plan, and we need to, if we can keep on working on this plan, keep on working on this plan. You and I talked about different things. You and I talked about churches in all the core area, which if we wanted to put I don't think you're going to want a church. Somebody's not going to put a church in the very core of the town because it's going to be the most expensive. You got to have parking lots. You got to have it. So you'd have to spend a ton of money to get a big wide church in there. So naturally, they're not going to want to go into the very center of the core. But if that is one of the holdbacks of people, then let's put it in there. Let's keep the churches everywhere. Let's make this plan, or try to make this plan, a plan that everybody can be happy with, or most people can be happy with. You're not going to make everybody happy all the time, but you got to give and take a little bit. And our choices are: do we want to keep Indian Trail looking like it does right now, or do we want to move this forward? And I want to help Mr. Kinley with his with what his problem is, and I think a lot of that is the taxes that he's going to have to pay to move on. But anyway, let's keep working on it, and let's not drop this. And council, I think you asked a ton of good questions tonight, and let's keep working on it, and maybe we'll come up with something. So with that being said, I think we've already made a motion to continue it. If we're done with questions, we're ready to move on to the next thing. And Brandy, thank you for your presentation tonight.
Thank you, Leslie.
All right, that brings us up to old business, project updates. Adam?
Good evening, everyone. So Mayor, you just made a comment a while ago about beautifying or looking at something a different way, so that's what we're about to do. Can you pull up the PowerPoint? Yep. So at, I think it was 2 council meetings ago, council asked for staff to go back and look at what we would do if we were to look at mowing Highway 74 and also other areas of town. When we did that, we went through a process. We kind of talked about this. This was in your memo that you got in your council packet. But we reached out to vendors. We got a cost for per mile, what it is to cut, for a year-long cycle. We also reached out to other municipalities, heard, their pluses and minuses to doing it in-house or contracting the service. We researched equipment and different things that we potentially would need if we looked at doing it ourselves. We also analyzed what this crew would be able to do, because we all know grass in this area doesn't grow all 12 months out of the year. You do have a cycle in the wintertime where it's not growing as much. And then we looking at a 5-year plan. That's one thing that we've tried to start doing a little bit more, is looking forward in the future, not just looking at what this is going to cost us today. If you go back when we talked about streetlights, that was one of the things that we did along Highway 74, is we looked at what that would take over 5 years. So we kind of did the same operation. So you can see on the screen right now, this is what we came up with. We looked at this in 3 different alternatives. We looked at it in an alternative of bringing this in-house. We also looked at doing it as to where it's just mowing along Highway 74. That's that bottom option. And then we looked at it if it was to mow all of the rights-of-way that we as town staff mow today. Broken out into years, that in-house option, so if we go back to the very top, if you're looking at that option, that includes both capital, operational needs, and also personnel. In year 1, which would potentially be this actual fiscal year that we are in today, that would be probably a 3-man crew, and then year 2 through 5 would be a 4-man crew. It would look to add another person. We run 4-man crews on all of our crews. We do that A for safety, and we do that B because people do take vacation or have a sick day, and that way you don't have a crew of only 1 or 2 people, and it's hard to get tasks done. One thing that Ms. Buhalik at the last council meeting, or 2 meetings ago, you asked about was look at some of those things that could be lumped together that this crew could do at other times. And one of the main ones that we can actually quantify is the stormwater maintenance contract. So today, we have a stormwater maintenance contract. We've had it for years. We allocate about $150,000 for that per year. That is definitely something that if this was chosen to be done in-house, that crew could do. During the winter months, that's perfect work for them to do. It's the time of year that we try and do that contract anyways. And talking today to my field operations manager, another thing that we thought about, but you can't really quantify it as well, is what things our other staff would be freed up to do that they don't do today. So right now, we divide all the mowing up over all 4 crews that we have, both our parks crew, both our streets and drainage crews, and our building maintenance crew. So if they're doing mowing in a certain area, they're not filling a pothole or fixing a sidewalk or mending something at the park or whatever. So if they're not doing mowing anymore and it's being done by a crew or it's being contract, that frees up man hours to do something else. But you can't really quantify that one as easily. If we look at that second option down there, that is for a contract to do all mowing, all the rights of way that we mow today around town. That's for a total of about 30 miles. That would include Highway 74 and other miles that we maintain today. And then that bottom option you see there for contracting would just be Highway 74, and our crews would still continue to do the maintenance that they do. You can see each year across there and then what the totals are for 5 years to do it in any way. So you have three options really that we can look at here. We can stay as is, we can keep doing what we do today, leave 74 alone, and let, DOT continue to do their 0 to 5 mowing cycles a year. We can look at contracting the service, or we can look at bringing on a new crew for the town to provide an added benefit, as we were just talking about. And I'll leave that up to y'all.
Go ahead, Mr. McIntyre.
Can you go back one slide? In year 2 and 3, for the in-house, what's the increase there? Because in year 4 it goes down, and year 5 slight increase. But what's the increase in year 2 and 3?
Good catch. So I'm going to back up and do year 1 first, just so it makes sense. Year 1, we'd be looking at a crew truck, a trailer, and 2 mowers for the crew. We already have 1 tractor today that they could use. And then you have only a half of year of salaries and operational cost. When you go to year 3, we would be looking at getting another tractor. That way you have one if one goes down. You would also be looking at full year of 4 salary members plus all of the operational costs for a full year. Year 3 would be looking at getting another mid-sized dump truck for that crew to be able to run as their own. What we would do up until that point is we would just have to swap vehicles between crews, but it's so that we don't front-load the work. We spread it out over time. What I also did, because we don't know what it'll be, I increased the in-house one by 5%. So I did a 5% multiplier over the whole number. I only did 3% for the contracts. I did 5 for ours just because we don't know what it'll be. I did a little bit higher. I wanted to stay more conservative. I don't know if 3% would be enough for the contracted services. I mean, we've all seen lately what contracts have gone up, but I tried to be more conservative for us and to be able to push them a little bit more.
Question for you. The in-house contract, which is the stormwater maintenance, right? The equipment that you're getting for the crews to do the mowing, that you would either have or be purchasing equipment to also do this work, the stormwater maintenance as well?
Yep, so this stormwater maintenance is our floodplain maintenance, so it's very minimal equipment needs.
Okay.
It's a chainsaw, a weed eater, a wheelbarrow, like it's
Things that
not.
we have.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Mr. Hamburger?
Yes, sir. How many mows is that a year?
So if we were doing it in-house,
In-house, yeah.
we would mow bi-weekly, which is what we do for all of our rights-of-way right now. If it was contracted, those are contracted right now during the growing season, bi-weekly, during the off-season, once a month.
Thank you.
Can I bring up one more point to that?
Yes, sir.
If it's done in-house, and I am not going to push y'all in any way, this is for y'all to decide what you want to do. If it's done in-house and we have an area that the grass is growing faster, or we're going to have,
Parade or something.
what do y'all call, where take the toy drive and you drive to Union County, to the sheriff's, the toy drive? Yeah. If we wanted to mow 74 right before that happened to just make it look, more pristine, if we knew there was something coming through town, you can do that if it's a town force. If it's a contracted force, you're at their mercy if they come or not, just like you at the restaurant. Yeah, I mean, if you need to order more steaks, you hope they come, but if they weren't on the books, you don't know.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes, sir.
Todd?
So all your plans, pretty much, we taking over all the mowing on 74?
So yes, all of those plans, we would take over the mowing on 74. Because your other option is to stay as is to not take over that
Well, I
mowing.
understand that. I mean, I was looking at the memo and really shocked me when it's like, well, we have this mowing cost, and basically, we're increasing our cost by 115%, or basically, because it says we're increasing the amount of mowing we're doing by 115%. And now we got to buy equipment to mow a state road, everything like that. It just seems like came in exorbitantly more higher than I expected, so, but thanks, yeah.
Okay.
So, because we're taking over the whole thing. The cost, I'm out. So, yeah, but thanks.
Yes, sir.
Is this factoring in what the state's going to pay us for doing it? That's all factored into this?
So that is not factored into this. Another good point. In talking with the other municipalities, out of 5 in this region that we talked to, only 2 of those ask for a portion of the money back from DOT because it's such a small amount of funds, and they base it on what their contract is per year, so you don't know what it is. When we looked at it for this the last time, I believe it was $5,000 for the whole year is all that they would pay the town. So my recommendation would be continue to let them mow their 5 times that they would come to town. It would just supplement the times we were going out there, or a contractor was going out there.
Any other questions? I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, one of the biggest complaints I hear is people that ride, of course, Monroe does their own, do they not?
Yes, they do.
They have a crew that cuts their own grass. And I hear this all the time. I guess being mayor, you'll hear this. Monroe's grass is really nice, but you get to Indian Trail and you got, comes up to your knee or your waist. And, why do they care so much about keeping their city clean, nice, and how does Indian Trail not clean up, in other words? And that's a big factor. I know that there's a lot of pride invested in our town. I want our town to be a beautiful town. And as we know, maybe last year before last, we know that, or we think that DOT probably didn't mow our grass but a couple of times all year long.
Yep.
And when that happens, it's really not a very pretty sight. And so what do we do about it? Do we leave it unsightly and have people complain? And you'll also have, if something's neat and clean, you have a less apt to throw a paper cup out a window or a bottle out the window or whatever. And if it's dirty, somebody might. And I'm not saying that's going to make all the difference in the world. But anyway, I see the difference than if we paid a contractor to do it. And if we did it ourselves, we'd save a lot of money. But one thing I think you didn't, and you may not have mentioned too, is what we're going to do with these guys when they're not mowing grass. When they're not mowing grass, they're going to be doing other things than just mowing the grass, correct?
Yeah, so when they're not mowing grass, they could, in the wintertime, they could do that stormwater maintenance contract. Even during, the normal cycle, we cross-train across all of our crews. So, if there's a stop sign that goes down, they could go help with that. If if we have a big event going on at the park and we need to do an extra mowing there, that crew can go jump on that. We've pulled every single person we have before to go fix a stormwater project. I mean, it's just like any team of people. I'd look at, Captain Hunky with the sheriff's office. If they need people, they'll pull people to do what they need to get done. So you're not going to have people just standing around.
Right. They're always going to be busy. All right. Well, Crystal?
Right. I mean, this was an issue that was brought up by our residents. They told us they thought it was a safety issue. Beautification was even second after that. I think all of council at that time agreed that it was a major issue. So I would like to make a motion to approve moving forward with bringing the mowing operations in-house.
Okay. I have a motion on the table. All in favor? Okay. I have Mr. McIntyre making a motion to do it in-house. Mr. McIntyre, Mr. Gay, Ms. Buholic, and Mr. Ambergia, all in favor? Against? Mr. Barber.
Okay, so then I just want to take one more step further and let you know what you'll see either in the next council meeting or potentially the one after that. You'll see a budget amendment that'll be to be able to add all those items into this year's budget. And then what you'll also see is I'll work with Carrie and HR to be able to write job descriptions and get all that stuff lined up. At this point, we would look to probably start and have crews ready the first of the year. That's what these numbers are based off of. We're towards the end of the cycle now. We'll get those crews in, ready to go, and then we'll be ready for next year. No.
What I would do is try to supplement the state.
Yeah.
You know, let them handle a portion of it and let us handle it, and then use our guys in other directions.
Yep. All right.
Okay. Adam, do you want to stay
Can I go
there?
grab my water bottle really quick and take a
Sure, go ahead. Because next is the ARPA update with ARPA surplus and recommendations for FY '24, and that will be Mr. McLam.
Thank y'all. All right, so now we're going to talk about ARPA for a minute. Now, this is going to take a little bit. I'm going to have to hopefully walk through. You can interrupt me if you want to ask any questions, but I want to walk all the way through, and then we may have to come back just like we just did with the mowing one there a little bit. So remember, every time we talk about ARPA, I'm going to keep bringing this up. We got 5 buckets that we can look at. Bottom row is the one that we have been looking at the most. There's new news in the ARPA world. There is a new interim final rule that has come out right now, and it is out for a 60-day comment period. That comment period started September 20th or so, so it'll end sometime in November. I forget exactly when it is. And what that new interim rule is to actually widen the infrastructure bucket. It's to allow the infrastructure bucket to be for surface transportation, natural disasters, and community development. We won't fall into the community development bucket because that's your census tracts that are in poverty, and we actually don't have any that fall to that level in Indian Trail. Natural disasters, I hope we don't fall into that, but that's what you had 2 gentlemen here this evening to talk about. The one that it could open up us a potential use in is that transportation one. We don't know anything more than what I just said. That is all that I know about that one right now. So now let's talk about those ARPA-enabled funds, or as we've referred to them in the past as surplus funds. Those funds were brought about because of the the replacement lost revenue that we've used to pay the sheriff's office the last couple of years. So still left in those FY23 funds, a couple of things that are still going on is we have I'm trying to get forward to my notes. The fire trucks are looking to come in now in December. I just talked to actually that contractor today or yesterday. The Emerald Woods Waterline Project, we sent a letter out to all the property owners in September. They had all of September to reach out to us to tell us if they would want to tap onto the line while it's under construction. And remember, council agreed to pay that tap fee and that water meter fee if they chose to tap in while it was under construction. There are 32 parcels along the Waterline project, but only 30 of those are eligible to tap on because 2 of them don't have a structure on the property, and Union County will not allow a tap if there is no structure at the parcel. 18 of the 30 eligible parcels have reached out to us to say, yes, they do want to tap onto it while it's under construction, and they still have roughly 4 more days for any more to reach out to us. For Cameron's House of Hope and Parks and Rec, we have the 2 buses. I am told that our bus is done all except for 1 upgrade. Cameron's is coming off the product line right now, and then it'll be able to be delivered as well. We actually delivered the last item today that was of all the surplus items that we had purchased and surplus to the schools and other items. Lions Club got their tents a couple of weeks ago, so that's all we have left are these 4 items coming out of FY23. So we've made good progress the last couple of months. So now let's talk about FY24. When council first made a decision this cycle, they looked at 4 different areas for the FY24 funds. These are those 4 areas. Community Center at $1.9 million to do a call for projects with those interest dollars. of a little over $334,000. Facility upgrades to the sheriff's office and the Public Works building of roughly $192,000. And then the fire trucks, there's still $2.16 million to pay out of this year's funds for the contract that we already agreed to. That's 50% of the total contract. What we're here mainly to talk about tonight with FY24 is to talk about the call for projects. So we did a call for projects in August. That project was then analyzed. We had 12 actual projects that were given to us and asked to be reviewed. We talked to 4 other agencies that decided not to submit for some reason or another, and we had a total requested amount of $1.33 million. We did, I do want to, for 100% transparency, we did have one project that came in late, but that's not counted in that 12. We didn't count it because it didn't come in time. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Okay, y'all are just going to hear me talk for a second. The ARPA committee met and reviewed all 12 projects. We also, as a committee, ranked those projects individually. So each person on the committee ranked the projects by themselves. They didn't talk to each other for their rankings. They came up with how they thought they should be ranked. We looked at 4 main criteria areas when we were looking at the projects. That was, do they meet the letter of the law? Do they meet things that we are allowed as a municipality to fund? And do they meet ARPA requirement letter of the law? We also looked at fair and equitable distribution across all of Indian Trail, across all user groups, across the projects that were submitted, everything that we could. We also looked at new organizations. Were there ones that hadn't requested funds in previous years? And then we looked at how could we make the greatest impact? Because if you remember back to ARPA, the original thing that it came down to was to make the greatest impact on your community that you could. The ARPA committee eventually came to an ultimate consensus. I will say that it took us a while to get there. We are a meeting behind when we originally thought we were going to bring this to y'all. So we did have some deliberation back and forth, which was really good. In the end, the ARPA committee chose to put forth a recommendation to fund 8 of the 12 projects that were submitted. I guess I sent the wrong PowerPoint. Hang on a second. Can you get to the Public Works drive on there or no? You can't? Okay. All right, so I'm going to have to tell you all these numbers because they're not all up there. They were in your packet, but they're not all up there. The ARPA committee's recommendation is to fund for Union County Public Schools, to fund what you see there, $90,000 for primary schools, so that's your elementary schools, and $76,000 for secondary schools, that's your middle schools and your high schools. And that's schools that Indian Trail student population goes to. To fund Union County Education Foundation at $4,000. To fund STEM Children's Studios at $15,000. To fund Union County Charter Education Association, so that's the charter school here in Indian Trail, at $40,570. To fund the Community Shelter of Union County at $75,000. To fund Safer Communities Ministries request at $5,500. To fund Help Pregnancy Clinic at $1,500. And to fund the Moore Park Waterline Extension Project design portion only at $27,141. And I want to make that clear that that's what we're talking about, is just the design portion of that project. Because if you remember, that project's estimated at being over $1 million. I am sorry that y'all don't have these slides. That's my fault. I got a new computer today, and obviously I don't know how to work a new computer. The last piece of information that we need to talk about is the last motion that is in your memo, which is to direct the town manager to reach out to Union County about looking at another 50/50 partnership with them for the total value of the Moore Park Waterline project. What that would take would be, again, that roughly $30,000, $27,000 from the town's portion this year to fund the design only. And then in next year would be looking at, y'all had made a potential recommendation, which is where we would move forward, to roughly fund, I think it was $1 million of transportation projects with next year's funds. We would look to move half of that money to fund the water line construction, and then continue to use the other half of that money to fund transportation. The reason why I'm making that recommendation is you already have a 5-year plan that you've set in place to do transportation with. I understand it was another $1 million to help speed that process along, but this is another area that's come up that there is some need in. And I will stop there and answer questions.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I just want to mention that there is a potential that that line could go by my house. And so I would recuse myself from voting so there wouldn't be any question about impropriety.
Okay. Do we want to, somebody want to make a motion?
Oh, is that allowed?
Someone has to, you can ask someone to make a motion to recuse yourself, and you
Yeah.
all vote on that.
Crystal, can you make a motion to recuse me?
I make a motion to recuse Dennis Gay. I make a motion to recuse Dennis Gay from voting on the Moore Park
To approve?
extension. Correct.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. And want to abstain? You're abstaining because?
Because I'm recused.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All except for Dennis. Dennis abstained.
I have a question before you make your motion.
We need to do that next. Yeah. Okay. Ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question for you. Or it's more like a request. Or I was trying to find, this is quite a big document. I was trying to find the breakdown for the schools. If I can
Yep.
get that from you, you don't have to give it to me now.
Okay.
But if I can get that from you, that would be appreciated.
Sure. I mean, I can tell you now if you.
No, you
Okay.
you just, let's not slow down the rest of the group. Sorry,
Okay.
Crystal. I'm good.
No, you're good. Okay, I'll make a motion then. I want to go ahead and make a motion to approve the ARPA committee's recommendations for the projects to fund and funding levels for each that Adam stated.
All in favor? Unanimous.
And then I will make a motion to approve authorizing the town manager to reach out to the county manager about a 50/50 partnership with Union County to install the water line extension project in Moore Park neighborhood.
All in favor? Unanimous. Well, unanimous except Dennis is abstaining. Correct. Okay.
Mayor, can I make one comment, sir?
Sure.
This is the second such event that this council has participated in. And everybody here, Mr. Barber, Mr. Ambergi, Ms. Buhalik, Mr. Gay, well, not now, but for obvious reasons. And you, Mayor, I want to just say to each of you up here that I do appreciate you guys paying attention to the residents and putting that money out there to help them. I've said it on several occasions. Water is essential for life, and I'm very proud and very happy that all of you chose to help these residents so that way they can have clean, fresh, and safe drinking water. So kudos to the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
Mr. Hudsinger, update on the Chestnut Parkway Phase 3.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you've already heard tonight about the Chestnut Parkway, we are trying to move forward with that, and NCDOT as well. Right. So in doing so, we have to get two things straightened out. One is our CEI that services, is our construction engineering inspection services that needs to happen on the project, and also we need to award the contract to the construction company. So first off, we went through an RFQ process a while back And the RFP process for the CI services was for actually 4 different projects, and one of the projects is the Chestnut Parkway Phase 3. And so in doing so, we selected 3 different firms in that process, and one of the firms, AMT Engineering Incorporated, is the one we decided to go with for this particular project. And so we've been working with them to get a proposal together. The proposal in your packet, as you obviously noticed and read. And based on the project, we anticipate a schedule of 1.5 years to be built. And so that the number is based on that, 18 months. That is one primary inspector there at all times, a secondary one in case, for whatever reason, the contractor gets behind. Sometimes they'll double up double up subs out there, and so you end up having to have a secondary inspector. So we wanted to give half the time to a secondary inspector, and then there's 2 senior advisors or people to oversee them to check records and all that. So you got 4 personnel that's in that proposal, and so that's why the cost is as high as it is. It's hard to estimate when you're dealing with 18 months, and so we've got to throw in hours and be a little bit conservative because we don't want to come back to y'all 2 or 3 times asking for more money. So I don't anticipate it taking this much, but again, we have to be a little bit conservative when it comes to CEI services. So I'm here tonight to ask for y'all to approve a contract for $741,614.78 to AMT Engineering Incorporated for the Chestnut Parkway Phase 3. Any questions?
Yeah, hold on one second. Todd, I don't know how much of this you already know about. Did you read? You made the amendment. Go ahead.
This is already funded money.
Right. I just didn't.
Correct. You have a CIP ordinance for this project, yes.
All right, yeah, I knew that. I just wanted to make sure you wanted to. Yeah, all right, very good. All right, can I get a,
Crystal?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the CEI services contract for Chestnut Parkway Phase 3 to AMT Engineering, Inc. in the amount of $741,614.78.
all in favor? Unanimous. Todd, construction notice on the award to K West Group Incorporated.
Thank you, Mayor. So we did go out into bid this project. We had 4 bids, and the low bid was a company called K West Group Incorporated. The bid was for $5,490,132.74. And that came below our engineer estimate of $5,768,529.30. So came out good on that deal. We talked to the folks, the contractor, before coming to this decision because they're new in the area. They're actually from Ohio, and so we wanted to take time to have meetings with them to make sure they were comfortable with their bid because 9 times out of 10, when you go out and do an engineer's estimate, the bid doesn't come below the engineer's estimate. It's always higher. So again, they were comfortable with the number. I asked them why we were so special that they elected to bid on our project because they haven't bid on a lot in this area. And they said this is basically kind of their niche. They're within that $1 to $5 million type project when it comes to road construction. They don't like bidding big projects. And so this was kind of in their wheelhouse. And everything else worked out as far as paperwork and so we would like the council, request the council to award K West Group Incorporated the low bid at $5,490,132.74 for this project. Any questions?
Mr. Gay?
I'd just like to let the folks out here in the audience know we've been criticized for the amount of money that we have currently in the bank, and this is part of that money. We have a lot of projects committed, and we've got the funding for it. So when you have somebody tell you, oh, they got way too much money in the bank, this is what it's for, and that's, as we raise our hand, it's leaving the bank and going to these projects that are vital to our town and our future. And Chestnut Parkway, for a lot of reasons, evacuation purposes and taking the load off of Indian Trail Road is part of this.
Mr. Ambergy?
Once we approve, what's the timeline on them getting started?
Again, if we remember correctly, remember a while back, I talked about the environmental impacts, which is the endangered species. So they will not be able to get on the job till after October 13th. I don't suspect they'll get there that soon anyway. It probably end of the month, early November. From what they've indicated, they're ready to go to start it. So I don't have a lock-in date. In our contracts, we don't put dates. We work with the contractor, and then once he gets us bonds and everything, and we decide to get ready to go, we start the clock, and then that's when the 18 months will start.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
All right, I will make a motion to approve I will make a motion to approve the notice of award for construction of Chestnut Parkway Phase 3 to K West Group, Inc. in the amount of $5,490,132.74.
All in favor? Unanimous. Todd?
All right, so now that you've awarded these two contracts, we have to amend the CIP ordinance, and to do so, these two contracts basically added up to around a little over 6.2 million, and the ordinance doesn't have but 6 million in there, and so we had to up the construction phase. And so we didn't use all of the right-of-way phase. We had like a $32,000 not savings, but we just didn't use it. So we moved that to the construction phase, which allowed us to just have to raise the construction phase to around 150,000. So it's technically 149 something thousand, but I just rounded it up to 150,000 to make life easier. But these CIP ordinances, we always like to round them up, and so I'd like y'all to approve the revision of this CIP ordinance for that amount, additional amount of 150,000 to the construction phase.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the amended CIP ordinance for Chestnut Square Parkway Phase 3 as presented.
All in favor? Unanimous. Todd, number 10, new business, ARPA stormwater drainage improvements. These two design services contract. Go right ahead.
All right, so if you recall, we are actually right now working, the contractors out there doing stormwater, ARPA stormwater drainage improvements Phase 1 project. And so unfortunately, what I wanted to do in that project, I couldn't, because some of the culverts that we need to replace need a little bit more detailed design because of sewer conflicts, and a couple of them are in the FEMA floodplain. And so in doing so, we needed to do an RFQ to get a design service team on board. So we went through our RFQ process and selected WK Dixon, and so we've been working with them on their proposal. And so now that we've got it, you've seen the proposal. It's basically for 5 culverts. 2 of the main culverts, it's going to be, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be expensive to fix 2 of these culverts because they're in the floodplain. They're 6 foot in diameter. And both, one in Pioneer Lane and one on Bow Creek. Can't remember the road name at this point. But anyway, they both basically block, if these 2 pipes were to wash out, they would basically stick over 20 houses with nowhere to go. You literally would just landlock these houses. So they need to be fixed, and based on our study, we've already studied those with the same firm. So we know they need to be repaired. And unfortunately, you're going to have to build side roads and everything else in order for them to get in there and do the work. So again, it's going to have to be a very detailed design. The other 3 culverts, not so much, but they do, if they ever washed out, they would basically block 3 homes apiece from being able to get out whatsoever. So very critical pipes that have been in the ground for over 30 years that need to be replaced, and we feel like this is the time to do it. We also have started looking at, based on our watershed management plan, stream bank restoration projects. And hopefully, we're going to design these now with this firm, but I don't know construction-wise, price-wise, we'll be able to do that as of this next contract. But we'll keep the Stormwater Committee informed with all that as time goes on. But anyway, like for the council, or we recommend the council award the contract to WK Dixon in the amount of $723,600 $723,675, God, I keep screwing up, $723,675. Any questions?
Got a question. I'm on Pioneer Lane. Should I recuse myself on this?
I don't think so.
No,
It's a need. It's not got nothing to do with where you live.
All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve award of ARPA Stormwater Drainage Improvement Phase 2 Design Service Contract to WK Dickerson Incorporated in the amount of $723,675.
All in favor? Unanimous.
I got that amount right.
There you go.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Todd. Appreciate you. Ms. Warner, come on up. Salary comp study.
I always screw this up. Is it this one? All right, good evening. I'm sorry that I'm the last one up here again. I tried to switch with Jim, but he was too mean and wouldn't let me. So I get to be here with you guys till the end. So, and you've had a lot of information presented to you tonight, so I'm going to try to make this very short and sweet. I'm here to talk about the compensation study. We started this in February of 2023. I hope you got the information from Mike. He sent you the consultant's final report, as well as some charts, and as well as our comp and pay plan. So I'm just going to briefly talk about that. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, and I'll be available for questions. So as I just said, in February of 2023, we hired Delane Honeycutt to complete a comp and pay plan study. The goals of the study were to survey the regional market to make sure our ranges were competitive and to facilitate recruitment and retention. Another goal was to make sure our employees were paid competitively within their ranges based on their qualifications and their years in the position. And the last thing that we wanted to do was review jobs, positions for succession planning, reporting relationships, duties, and responsibilities. So Mike and I met with all the directors in February to just talk with them and see what they needed as far as employees, as far as succession planning and that type of thing. We wanted to get that done first before we started the budget process so that we could come to you with recommendations for positions, reclasses, and that type of thing. So this kind of all started in February, but it worked into the budget process as well. Her final report was done in July. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that some of these numbers that you're going to see on my presentation are a little bit different than what you have in your packet because we've had some employees that have had performance reviews since then and promotions. So the numbers are just a little bit different, but actually they're better. So just know that when you see this, it might be a little different than what you have in front of you. So how the survey starts is we pick 15 communities that we want to survey in our local region. These were the communities that we chose. I'm not going to read them for you. You can see them. And what our consultant did is she put together a survey with all of the current positions that we have, any of the new positions that we wanted to add, and then she asked all of those municipalities for the current salary of each of those positions and then the minimum, maximum, and market for those positions, because that's kind of how all of the local governments do their salary ranges. Everybody's familiar with that, so that's just a little brief history of what the survey looks like. When we got the survey back, these were some of the findings. We didn't have any employees that were below the minimum of their salary range, so that's really good. We did a study in 2020, and we had quite a few people that were below the minimum of their salary range. So the fact that we've done COLAs and merit increases over the past 3 years has really helped us stay competitive and keep our ranges in good range. We had 20 employees that were below 90% of market. And what that means is not a bad thing. Most of those employees are newer employees that haven't been here but 2 years or less. So they're not expected to be at the market rate at that point. We had 7 employees who were at 90 to 100% of market, and then we had 20 employees who were above 100% of market. And the market is just basically an average of salary ranges from all those 15 communities.
So we don't have anybody that was over, the maximum of their salary range. Most people were either at 100% of market or a little bit above, but we didn't have anybody over. So this information, to me, is not surprising. I think is actually really good. It's a good number and a good, my brain is mush right now, I'm sorry. I didn't eat enough lunch or dinner. But basically, this is not surprising to me, and I think it's a good indication that we're doing a good job as far as keeping our salaries competitive. Once we got the information back, I worked with the consultant. She came up with an idea so that we could continue for planning for the future and sustaining our salary ranges. She recommended that we have a target goal for market based off of an employee's years of service in their position. So this was her recommendation. I know a couple other municipalities take this approach or this practice. And we've sort of been doing it, but it's just never been presented that way. So I know it's a lot of information to process, but the goal is for everybody that's here for 0 to 3 years, we want them to be at 85% of market. So that's 85% of that middle market. 3 to 4 years, we want them to be at 87.5% of market. And then 5 to 6 years, 90% of market. And then 7 and above, we want them to be at 100% of market. And again, that's not at the maximum. That's just that market where the average where most salaries are in our area. So once I got that goal, and that's what we were looking to do, I reviewed every single employee's salary. I looked at their years of service. I looked at their experience. And I looked at their current salary and lined it up with the new salary ranges that were recommended. And so the goal or the recommendation from the consultant was to do salary adjustments for 11 employees. Because there's 11 employees that were not in those target goals that we want them to be at. 2 of them were in Parks and Rec, a majority of them were in Public Works, and then 2 were in engineering. So the total cost for the fiscal year for these adjustments is $16,069.27. This really includes the 401K and the pension that the town is responsible for paying as well. So really the fiscal count is $13,000, and then you add $3,000 for those fringe benefits, so to speak. So tonight, I'm asking for you to approve the recommendations for the 11 salary adjustments effective October 1st. And also just wanted to, again, thank the council. I think, the salary, the performance review merit program and the COLAs that have been awarded have been very generous and have really helped us be competitive and helped us keep our staff and retain, and recruit staff. So, any questions?
So you had said that the number's really actually a little bit lower because since you came up with the number, you've given raises and stuff. So it's actually, I guess, truly it's less than the 16,000 number.
No, the 16,000 is the correct number.
Okay, I
The
just
number
wanted to-
that was sent in the report that Mike
That
sent,
one was.
that one was
okay,
a little
gotcha.
off because that was
I just wanted to
from July.
confirm which was correct. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So that one was like 17,000 something, so it went down 1,000. Oh, yes. In 2020, when we did the last study, the total cost for salary adjustments was $34,000. So I think we've done a really good job. And the fact that we're doing this every 2 to 3 years, or every 3 to 4 years, it really does help with retention and hiring.
Mr. Barber?
How many, you reckon 11 salary, and you broke this down. Now, are they going to get the market share based on their years that you showed in the earlier slide?
Yeah. So all of them are different because all those 11 employees have been here different years.
Well, I just wondered about increasing that because it seems like we've had a problem hiring in Public Works, and then our highest number here is Public Works. So maybe, I didn't know if you wanted to increase that percentage of market share since we've had such a problem in that department. I don't know what that would be.
I mean, we have the
but-
ability to do that. Those are just goals. Doesn't mean that we.
Well, I'm not just saying them, but of the
Yeah.
11, it's kind of, I was just trying to see if there's a way you could help out that department to, hire, maintain, and be competitive?
Well, I think that this salary study has helped.
So you think it will?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine.
We actually just hired 2 people for Public Works, and I thought we were fully staffed
So,
until tonight.
I'd like to make a motion.
No, and they did.
If it's okay with the council, I'd like to make a motion on that one, sir.
Sure, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended salary adjustments of $16,069.27 effective October 1st, 2023.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go home now.
Todd? NCDO Town Chestnut Connector Betterment Agreement.
All right, so we're going to go down memory lane a little bit at the beginning of this. We actually started talking about these betterments back in 2020, me and the former town manager. And so the conversations kind of were agreed and approved back then, and we really haven't talked to DOT since. This is why this has kind of come back as a surprise, because they went into right-of-way with the Chestnut Connector. They really didn't talk about it. Now they're done, ready to get going to construction, and then they contacted me like 2 weeks ago, and I'll be honest with you, totally forgot about this stuff. And but anyway, so we'll try to explain to you as quick as I can. So, all right, as you see on the image, this is the Chestnut Connector, the DOT's building from Matthews Indian Trail Road to Gribble. All right, but they're also building intersection improvements at Chestnut and 74. Chestnut is at the bottom of your screen. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. They try to go out there and do the UE. You know, it's very difficult. Well, they're actually they're actually putting in a traffic signal there. There will be a mast arm in that angle right there at that intersection. There'll be a couple signal heads aiming down to the right turn lane for you to be able to take a right, and the other two signal heads, 2 or 3, whatever they are, will stop traffic coming down 74. So you'll be able to take the turn, get in the loop. Great for me, because I need that every day I leave here. So the next arm will be right there, just like it is down 74 everywhere else. You've got an arm right there at the bulb. That's to stop traffic going there. And then we're going to have 2 small signal heads on either side. And then that'll let those people know that they can do the UE. So just want y'all to know that's part of the betterment. The betterment basically is on this section, they're paying for the mast arms to be put out there. We just want them black coated with black coated paint, because we want it to match our Indian Trail Complete Street project, because all of our intersections on the Complete Street project are going to be black mast arms. So we want all this to match. We want it to flow towards the downtown area. So this is the plan sheet. This is what I just explained. Just to let you know. And this is the plan sheet. This is DOT's plan sheet. That's what they're going to do. All right, so you go to Matthews Indian Trail Road, where Carolina Courts is on the bottom of it. Well, there are going to be 4 small mast arms. There are going to be one there, one there, one there, and one there. All right. They're not paying for those metal poles, and that was what was discussed back in 2020. They could put wood poles out there, just like they got along 74 on the other intersections. We don't want that. We want nice black mast arms. We want it to match. It's because, Stallings already has theirs at the intersection where the hospital's at. We're going to have one down there coming down this way to our Matthews Indian Trail Road, black mast arms. Y'all have seen the renderings. So we want this to match, right? So the agreement was in 2020 to pay for those mast arms and pay for the black coating. Well, and that's the intersection. That's what it's going to look like on the plan. Well, also, you've got crossings, ped crossings, push buttons, all that, where there's 8 of them. We don't have to pay for those, but we want them to pay them black. They're not going to pay them black for us, so we have to pay for that cost. So that's part of those numbers you saw in the email I sent you, or I'm sorry, Mike sent you. So that's those 2 numbers. Well, sidewalks, DOT doesn't put sidewalks in for free. they have a sidewalk policy, and the towns have to go and ask for the sidewalks to be put in. Well, DOT, once you have that, do the request, they will pay a majority percentage for that cost of that sidewalk, and it's based on population. Well, our population, we're in the 70 to 30 split. So they'll pay 70% of the cost of those sidewalks on that screen, but we have to pay 30% of it. Well, in our UDO, in our land development manual, now we want 6-foot wide sidewalks. We want 5-foot wide sidewalks. So now we have to pay an extra foot for that. So all that linear footage you see on that screen, we had to pay an extra foot. Well, if you go look at the screen now, you got Town Hall right there, right? It's going to go, you got the bridge. Well, you got a sidewalk that goes all the way back down to that intersection of Matthews where Carolina Courts is. Well, there's sidewalks there. There's going to be new sidewalk on the top of your screen. There's going to be a new sidewalk tied into the our Town Hall sidewalk. And then there's a little bit of new sidewalk on the radii. Rest of it, we don't have to pay for it because they got to tear it up and replace it. But we have to pay for that extra sidewalk. We have to because it's part of UDO. We have to have sidewalks. That's what we make developers do. That's what we want our town to do as well. So that's how this is broken down. So if you look at the screen, 4 metal poles plus the black coating for all the posts that they're paying for and what we're paying for is $149,000. And then you've got sidewalks. The first cost is the cost share, the 70-30 split. That's the 30% is the $29,000. And then the rest of it is the total sidewalks you saw on those screens, snapshots of the added 1 foot, which is $44,000. So total cost to the town would be $224,094. And I've talked to Jim, talked to Mike. I mean, I think we can find the funds to pay for this. I apologize, it came at a late notice, but the DOT is ready to start going through construction authorization, and they needed a decision made before October 10th. So, any questions?
Any questions? Todd?
So you want the poles to match the poles on Indian Trail Road eventually?
Correct.
So you're just looking to paint them, $150,000, but these poles they put in will match 74 and what's on Wesley Chapel and other state roads.
Yes, where we're putting them in as far as projects, yes.
And that won't cost us nothing for them to match 74 and the other state roads. But you want them to match a town, just one road to match a town road.
I'm not following. I apologize.
You want to paint them black?
Yes, for the poles that are going to be paid by DOT, we want to pay them black because we don't want them gray poles. But for the intersection I talked about up on the screen, for that one, they'll go out there and put wood poles, and we don't have to pay anything. But to me, why would you want wood poles out there that doesn't match the rest of what you're putting out there on the complete street and everywhere else?
74, you said, so, I mean, it's.
No, it doesn't.
You know, so.
You're saying don't paint them black. Don't paint these black, but pay for the poles?
Do what now?
You're saying pay for the poles, but don't paint them black? Is that what you're asking?
Paying for the poles?
No, we're paying for the poles on this intersection, yes.
Oh, this intersection, you're paying for the poles. Okay,
Yes,
that's
on
what
the
I
other
was
intersection, you're not.
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
If all we're doing is painting poles, I'm not paying $150,000.
Oh, no. You're buying the 4 poles here. You're just not buying any more anywhere else.
I'm good with the sidewalks and all that. Okay, well, that makes better sense.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, yeah.
So the poles at
I'm good with
74
paying
will
for
be
the poles
black
then.
already?
No, we have to paint those, or they'll just do them gray. I mean, that's how they come. That they don't have to do any paint then.
But that'll come later, that fee.
No, that's, the paint fee is in this.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know.
The only thing we have to do after this is all said and done, after the project's all said and done, is we need to buy street name signs, because we want street name signs on the mast arm, you know. We don't want to put street name sign poles like we got now. We want everybody to visually see the road coming, so, and we can do that after the fact on our own.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
Mayor, before you make a motion, there were a couple changes when I reviewed the agreement today, and I've sent those.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hunsinger. So if you'll just make the motion contingent on attorney's recommended changes.
All right, so then I will make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the NCDOT interlocal agreement at a total cost of $224,094 for the betterments in order for NCDOT to install them as part of their Chestnut Connector project, as long as they include the recommendations of our attorney.
Okay, before we do that, Mr. Barber didn't hear what the changes were, so
If you have the agreement in front of you, under section B, projected costs, it talks about the betterments and costs of the sidewalks outside of the municipality's limits, and we're not paying for or building any sidewalks outside of our limits. So-
Yeah, it was an error, basically.
Typo, yeah.
Typo, whatever. We need to get them to fix, that's all.
okay. All right, would you make the motion again? I apologize, go ahead.
All right, I will make it again. I make a motion to approve the NCDOT interlocal agreement at a total cost of $224,094 for these betterments in order for NCDOT to install them as part of their Chestnut Connector project with the changes pursuant to our attorney.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you. Brings us to discussion items, consideration of upgrading council code of ethics. Mr. McLaurin.
Okay, this is a conversation I've had with several of you off and on for a long time about your code of ethics. Your code of ethics was last done in 2009, and again, last meeting or so, the comment came up about maybe updating our code of ethics. I've heard of several from you since the last meeting about doing that. Well, we don't want to proceed without getting your go-ahead if you'd like us to review your code of ethics, look at what some of the other towns are doing, and then bring it back. Someone mentioned earlier that a lot has changed since 2009, and so I guess if we could just get a nodding of the head, Madam Town Attorney, we will take that as direction.
Okay, can I get a nod? All right, I see 4 nods of the head, so
Okay.
we're good.
All right, let me run and go over some project updates. Chestnut Parkway, I think you've heard a lot about that. Just to remind you, when we do build our section from Gribble to Old Monroe Road, you've agreed to fund a temporary intersection into Old Monroe Road. We're still working on Indian Trail Road and Navajo Extension. You see that. Chestnut Park, Phase 2. We're still in design for part of the park. Phase 2A is being advertised this week, and once the consultant finishes Phase 2B, we'll move from there. Adam has talked to you about Emerald Woods. I won't go over that. A couple of items I do want to mention that's not on your sheet. October 31st is Halloween, and because it's Halloween, a lot of kids come out on the streets to collect candy, and it gets dark earlier. And so Waste Connection's going to have their solid waste trucks out earlier at 6 a.m. so they can be off the streets by the time the kids get out there. On our generator, Mr. Mayor, we have received word that they are still waiting on a part. We told you earlier that we would close Town Hall on October 2nd and October 5th. We've got to postpone that, and so once we get the new date, we'll let you know. We have been selling a lot of engravings on the military wall. Some of you have bought engravings. Mr. Barber, I think you have. It seems like I've signed a thank you letter to you and some others. And we're going to have the engraver here. They're going to be here Friday, and they come about twice a year. So if you've got a loved one that you want to remember on that wall, I know it's short notice, but we need you to get your paperwork in by Thursday at close of business, and we'll go there. You see on the next sheet just some information about our upcoming meeting, the Christmas Grand Marshal public hearing, tax report. You've already done the resolution on Indian Trail Unionville Road. Solid waste update. We also want to bring you a draft economic development policy we'd like for you to look at, and also talk about a space needs study update. That's all I've got. I do want to make one personal comment. We have gone for over 2.5 hours, but I want to tell you several things. One, I want to thank the board for how they've worked well together tonight. All of you individually have talked to me at some point about wanting to move the projects forward and moving the city forward, and y'all have made some very important decisions to do that. On behalf of the employees, we certainly appreciate you doing a compensation study every couple years. As you've seen, it helps us with recruiting, and it reduces our catch-up cost. Finally, one of the things I do as manager is, as we have items come up, we have the department heads make the presentation. I do that for several reasons. One, my mentor taught me that many years ago, but two, it gives them an opportunity to work with you on their projects, but most importantly, for you and the public to see the talent that we have on our staff. So that's all I've got. I hope you have a pleasant evening, and if there's not any questions, I will sit down.
Go ahead. And let's get council comments, please. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Barber.
Thanks for everybody coming out. I'd like to remind everybody that the Indian Trail United Methodist Craft and Bake Sale is Saturday, October 14th. They say this is an event you don't want to miss. So there it is. Also, I'd like to welcome this Saturday, there's a grand opening over in Sun Valley Commons. It's a new Lego store called Bricks and Minifigs. The grand opening is Saturday. I'd like to give a shout out to the Sun Valley High School Spartans football team. They are undefeated. And I understand they got an awesome defensive line over there, so doing a good job. Other than that, everybody have a blessed evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Gay.
I really want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I'm sorry that the lady left that I thought hit the nail on the head with the issues we've had here over the past couple of months. People who spread gossip, get on the internet and spread it, or get on the phone, call over town and spread it, are hurting the people that actually are affected by these things that we bring before us, like this downtown overlay. All it does is delay, confuse, and upset people, and it needs to stop. And so if you hear somebody saying something that is negative toward the plan is, it's not as is, it's changing, we're listening. And if somebody gives you something that doesn't sound right or worries you about something, pick up the phone and call the town manager, call Brandy, get the straight of it, and then go back and tell that person to quit spreading rumors and untrue things. It does no good at all. And all it does is slow down the process. We spent $90,000 on this study. When it came to us, it was not set in stone. People have been saying it's set in stone. It is not, and we're going to work each individual person who thinks that feels they're getting hurt on this to make it where it's going to be okay. So just pick up the phone and call rather than listen to somebody that wants it's all been political. I don't care what anybody says. It's been political. It's like every time an election, when national election, they start talking about Social Security and it's going to go broke and you're going to lose your Social Security. And then when the election's over, guess what? Have y'all heard anything about Social Security lately in a big way? So let's stop all the rumors and get it done and take care of the people in this town. I'll be careful going home. Thank you.
Councilmember Ambergy.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, kids would say stuff that they were actually doing. So God bless y'all. Jesus loves you. Have a great night.
Councilmember Buholic.
I want to thank everyone for coming out. Your voice really does matter. The downtown is a work in progress. We are working to make it something that we can all agree on and make the town better. So I really appreciate you. I hope y'all come back next time and join us. Have a safe drive.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Thank you very much. Just so that everybody remembers, I think this is the countdown, right? I have about 3 or 4 more meetings remaining. My wife and my kids are counting too, but I will continue to serve until that last day. So I want to say to everybody who came out tonight, thank you very much. One of the things about this country that I really love is that it doesn't matter who you are, you have a voice, right? That's where freedom of speech comes in. And the fact that we have meetings and we allow people to come in and speak for 3 minutes, I think that's really remarkable, and that's really good. And hopefully this council will continue to have those at every meeting, not try to shorten them, but to continue letting the residents have a voice so that they can talk about various things that concerns them. So that's really good. To piggyback on that comment, I want to just mention that if you're coming to talk about the downtown master plan, also say what it is that you would like to see included. Not just say what's wrong about it, but say what's included, because that is really the purpose of you being here, right? You may have an idea, and I watched the planning board meeting, and there was a planning board member who asked questions about the services or provided for dogs, and I felt that was really informative, right? And Meg, I'm looking at you because you're the one who spoke about it. But when I see that, these are things that I never really contemplated. But the thing is, it does give us here ideas. So when you come up, I encourage you to speak, but talk about what you want to see in it, and also things that you don't like. But give an alternative, so therefore it can help us kind of make this and shape this in the way that we want, right? So that's that. Town staff, I can't say enough about the staff. Todd, I've known you coming here for various projects, and I'm finally starting to see the Chestnut Parkway get to a point where we are awarding contracts. So job well done. Mike, I think that you have a really good staff here in terms of all the people that work here. We sit up here and they make us look really, really good. So the town staff, I value everything that you guys do. I appreciate it. And I know that our residents, not a lot of them come to the meetings because of the good job that you guys do within the town. And the last thing, two last things. The people who are running for office, I'm going to give you a little advice. When you run for office, your agenda should only be the people. I took a vote here tonight, and I took one a few months ago. Those are two of the proudest moments in my entire time being here, was when I voted, along with the rest of the council, to get water for Emerald Woods and now for Moore Park. Those are really proud moments for me because it means that I am doing the work of the people, representing the people. And the last thing I'll say is, the first time I encountered a politician in Indian Trail, wasn't a politician yet, but he was running for office, was David Cohn. He talked about parks and that we would have to issue bonds. And there was a tax increase. And I was happy to pay that tax increase because it gave us the parks that we do enjoy, that do look beautiful today. Since then, there's been no tax increases. But the thing is, very rarely do you meet a politician who tells you as it is and it actually came out. And that's how I got to talk to him, and then he encouraged me to be up here, and now I'm leaving him. But anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Mayor Cone?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to address what my opponent said here earlier tonight. And if I do have out there where it says 12 years, that is incorrect. It's 11 years in a row that we haven't had a tax increase. I did look up, and I read this. I said on my flyer, and I've said in different places, and I said our tax rate has remained at 18.5 cents per $100 of assessed home value during my time as mayor and during my council terms. And this is due to careful financial management and oversight. While I'm committed to maintaining our current tax rate, I will not promise to lower taxes because of an election year. Promise to lower taxes eventually leads to tax increases once voters cast their election is over. And I won't go on and read anymore. And if I have somewhere there and it does say 12 years, and I apologize to everybody in the room because it wasn't 12, it was 11 years. And somewhere on there, Mr. Schellenkamp, if I've got 12 years, that is incorrect. But 11 years, I do believe it's been 11 years. We got a lot accomplished in tonight. Our council worked well together. We have a lot of good things happening in this town. I don't know if you see that we had a whole lot of things accomplished tonight, all for the good of the town. And I appreciate us working the way we work together tonight. And I hope everybody, I want to mention Joe one more time, at Mia Familia Pizza. Congratulations, Joe. I know how proud you are to be an American, and how proud I am to know you. And with that being said, everybody have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and God bless you, all of you. Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion to...
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.